You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories. Chapter 672. Chapter 672, Chapter 174 was for troublemakers. Chiyo subscribe. 6. The so-called strongest students of the same level were meant for the evildoers, not the students with average talent. For a moment, all the people in the area were evacuated. Bai Feng pursed his lips and looked at Lu Wenyan. With a smile, he said, "Uncle Master, I'm good, right? Aren't you uncomfortable being surrounded by people?" "I felt uncomfortable the moment I came. Look, they're all gone now. They won't come again until the strong ones come." Wu Yuhua looked at him strangely and said, "You really don't care about the friendship between fellow students." "Friendship?" Bai Feng said speechlessly. "Where did the friendship come from? It's long gone. If it really existed, would there still be a present? These people, I have to kill them until they kneel down and call me father. I'm too lazy to get involved in this. Anyway, my senior brother can tolerate it, but I can't. I'll deal with them with one sword stroke. If it's within the academy, then I'll defeat them. If it's fine to kill people outside the academy, then I'll just kill them. You brat, are quite ruthless." Wu Yuehua shook her head. Bai Feng said gloomily, "Don't just talk about me. That niece of yours isn't inferior to me. Most of the divine inscriptions are soft persimmon, so I can only be a little tougher. My teacher said that I'm the closest to my grand teacher and martial uncle, right?" Lu Wenyan sighed. "If your grandmaster was as ruthless as you, would there be such a fart? How could your grandmaster be as ruthless as you? Your grandmaster was proud and arrogant. Otherwise, how could there be a single divine runes lineage that had been tormented to this point? Of course, when the 5th generation was around, no one would dare to bully them." Bai Feng didn't mind. He looked at Lu Wenyan with a smile, as if he had seen a peerless beauty. He transmitted his voice, "Martial uncle, I've found a way to solve the suppression of your divine text. I can make you invincible in one day. Come, let me see your brain. No, let me see your sea of will. No, let me see the divine text, martial uncle, she's gone. Hurry up, I can't wait any longer." As he spoke, Bai Feng took out a bunch of instruments from his bag and ran in all directions. He dug out a large pile of trees, earthworks, and rocks and instantly built a house on the spot. "Martial uncle, come on in. Let me take a look at your brain." "No, divine pros, I won't cut you. Don't worry, hurry up, we don't have much time." Lu Wenyan and the others just watched in a daze as he built the house in an instant, installed the equipment, and even made a wooden bed at the same time. They looked at Lu Wenyan with burning eyes. Lu Wenyan was just a step away from lying on it. Bai Feng was a little anxious and hurriedly said, "Pavilion Elder Wu, use some willpower to block the 4 directions. Pavilion Elder He, help me keep an eye out. Pavilion Elder Fan, help me catch my martial uncle. He has a serious problem with divine runes. I'll see if I can treat him." Everyone looked at him in a daze. This kid, did he really go crazy? Just as Bai Feng went crazy, Su Yu walked out of the mystic realm once again. Everything went smoothly. This time, he did not open too many apertures. He only opened the apertures required for the soul-devouring technique and the pure yuan technique. He had opened a total of 180 apertures. This Yuan Qi mystic realm was not very suitable for cultivating divine apertures. 10 drops of the 5 elements race's blood essence only helped Su Yu open 3 divine apertures. Now, he had opened 180 physical apertures and only 23 divine apertures. On the other hand, his willpower had decreased by a little. At this moment, it was only about 65%. In his mind, the little hammer was still hammering vigorously. It's time to stir up some trouble. At least he could relieve some of the pressure on the teachers outside. It would be best if he could tie down an elder of the Divine Literature Department and not let him leave. The moment he walked out of the secret realm, Su Yu's shadow barrier burst out, covering everything. He didn't want Old Man Huang to peep at him. Old Man Huang looked at him and was speechless. This kid intentionally burst out his willpower and didn't want him to see it. He didn't prepare anything. Su Yu, how's your cultivation? It's all right. Su Yu smiled foolishly. Teacher, I'll take my leave first. Do you need me to help you cover it up? No need. It's not like I can't be seen. Su Yu smiled and said, thank you, teacher. Oh right, teacher, I'll come here in the future. There's no need for me to specially close the secret realm to avoid gossip. I'll come here often. After saying this, Su Yu ran away. Watching him leave, Elder Huang couldn't help but laugh. At the side, Elder Nie suddenly said, his killing intent is boiling. This kid would rather not advance to 10,000 stones to cultivate the soul-devouring art. Who is he planning to attack? Who else could it be? Elder Huang said disapprovingly, let's make a scene. It's best if we make a scene until our heads bleed. The academy should have been cleaned up after all. After 50 years, the number of experts had increased, and the hearts of the people had also dispersed. The 10,000 heavenly saints had a great responsibility. Let's clean it up. After cleaning up a bunch of pests, we'll be even stronger. Elder Nie nodded slightly and said softly, the more divine literature. Sigh. A sigh, two people did not speak again. The wind rose, the rain is also about to fall. You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories. Chapter 673. Chapter 673, Chapter 175 The Powerful Su Yu. Monthly 1. In the early morning of the academy, there were very few people, and the air was very good. Strolling along the tree-lined avenue, Su Yu did not feel good at all. On the contrary, he felt a little bad. He was thinking, what is Wan Tianqing thinking? Now that the Divine Arts Department had fallen into such a state, it was no longer a simple matter of competition. It even involved life and death. As the head of the academy, Wan Tianqing did not care about this at all. Was he only looking at his own land? Outside the academy, was he going to allow others to do as they pleased? Was the myriad sage not even going to care about the participation of some outsiders? If this went on, how much prestige would the Grand Xia Academy still have? Su Yu was thinking, if he were to stand in the perspective of the myriad sage, what would he do? What should he do? After thinking for a long time, Su Yu sighed in his heart. Perhaps because their statuses were different, their considerations were different. In the Grand Xia Academy, the most difficult thing for him to understand was the myriad sage. Previously, it was said that the myriad sage was the leader of the Grand Xia Academy. It wasn't just the Great Xia Institute of Civilization alone. But now, he didn't see the prestige of many leaders. Was it because of their strength? It wasn't even the sun or the moon. As he thought about this, Su Yu once again walked to the library pavilion. On the side of the library pavilion, there were also some students and researchers coming and going. Some saw Su Yu and greeted him warmly, while others saw Su Yu and looked at him coldly. Su Yu did not care. Those who greeted him responded one by one with a smile. Those who looked at him coldly also ignored him. He did not have merit points, so he could not be loved by everyone. Therefore, the best way was to rope in the majority and strike down the minority. Make enemies afraid, make friends like him, and make neutral people not favor the enemy. He learned this from Qin Hao's father. When Qin Qinghe was the deputy director of the traffic control department, he was not the only deputy director in the department. There was a deputy director who went against him. Qin Qinghe quietly roped in the other deputy directors and was kind to the people below him, he showed his ability to the people above him and showed kindness to the other deputy directors. Only the deputy director who went against him was targeted everywhere. The two of them caused a ruckus. Everyone said that one of them was not a good person and that it was everyone's fault. Even though it was Qin Qinghe's fault, it was that person's fault in the end. In the end, that person could not stand being targeted by the entire supervision department and left in anger. Therefore, in the academy, Suyu had to let people understand that it was the fault of the single Divine One faction. As long as they fought, regardless of whether it was Suyu who took the initiative to pick a fight, it was the single Divine One faction who bullied others. It was all their fault. No matter how ruthless Suyu was, he had no choice but to protect himself and counterattack. Perhaps those people would not help him, but Suyu's reputation was good. In this day and age, strength and reputation were necessary. If his reputation was bad, it would be difficult to do anything. When the guards at the doors saw Suyu, they all smiled and retreated. Suyu responded with a smile, bowed slightly, and stepped into the library. 10th floor. This time, Suyu was not looking for Chen Yong, but his senior sister Wuxia. After greeting Chen Yong briefly, under Chen Yong's astonished gaze, Suyu and the enthusiastic Wuxia went downstairs together. "Junior brother, why are you looking for me?" Wuxia followed Suyu downstairs excitedly as she asked curiously. "It's so early in the morning, why is junior brother looking for me to help?" "Senior sister, it's already October." "Yes, why?" "Once December is over, if you still can't enter the top 100, the academy will organize a second in-depth inspection. Even if senior uncle makes up for some of the previous losses, it's still useless. Because when the time comes, it won't be a simple inspection, but a joint inspection by the elders of the many pavilions." Wujia's expression changed. She naturally knew, and she said somewhat dejectedly, "I know, but, junior brother, I'll strive to enter the top 100 in December." Suyu smiled and said, "Senior sister, in December. There will be too many variables." Then Suyu slowly said, "The multi-divine literature department is being targeted by others. Why can't we counter them? Martial uncle will be investigated. What about the others? You won't be able to make it into the top 100. Martial uncle's teaching results aren't good. If that person from the single divine literature department doesn't make it into the top 100, will their teacher be investigated again? Will there be any problems?" Wu Jia looked at him in a daze. "Junior brother, what do you mean?" "Counterattack." Suyu smiled and said, "Senior sister, counterattack is the best defense. We can't just sit around and wait for death. However, the last time I dealt with Huang Qifeng, it was still alright. It's not a big problem for me to be ruthless. However, if I were to rashly attack the others, everyone will think that our multi-divine one faction is too cruel and overbearing. We don't care about the single divine pros faction. We must care." Suyu said softly, "Because we have fewer people, and because we are weak, we still have to care about our reputation. Don't push us, who are already weak, to the opposite side of everyone." Wu Jia seemed to be deep in thought. She nodded and looked at Suyu curiously. This junior brother of hers had quite a lot of thoughts. "Junior brother, then tell me, what do you want me to do?" "Senior sister, go and challenge the top 100 students." Suyu said softly, "Challenge those from the divine literature department." "No, let them challenge you. Those from the divine literature department can't do anything to me right now, but they won't give up on you." Suyu thought for a moment and said, "Has anyone challenged senior sister recently?" "Yes." Wu Jia said gloomily, "There are so many of them. A large group of bastards who didn't make it into the top 100 wanted to challenge me every day. If it weren't for teacher stopping them, I would have long sought revenge on them. They've gone too far. If I wasn't injured, those bastards wouldn't dare to challenge me." You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories. Chapter 674. Chapter 674, Chapter 175, The Powerful Su Yu. Monthly 2-inch. That's good. Su Yu smiled and said, "Senior sister, accept the challenge. Don't look for a girl, look for a boy. Don't use your willpower. If you get injured, get injured. Spit out more blood. Let people see that even if you are injured, senior sister will not be afraid of a fight. It's best if you can win. If you win, senior sister will challenge the students in the top 100. It doesn't matter if you lose, because you are injured. You are angry, so you went to challenge the other party, but the other party destroyed you again." Wuxia stared at him in a daze. Vaguely, he already understood what he meant. "Junior brother. You mean, you want me to act miserable?" "No, it's really miserable." Su Yu chuckled and said, "Let the entire academy see just how powerful the single divine prose faculty is. An injured female student, they come every day to find trouble and bully others. They are already riding on their necks to shit. Junior brother. So disgusting, don't say that." Wu Jia had a depressed look on his face. How could he say that? Su Yu was a little speechless. Wu Jia suddenly grinned and said, "Junior brother, you look so sinister. Are you ready to make a move on them?" Su Yu was slightly stunned. He smiled foolishly and said, "Senior sister, it's not that I'm sinister, I'm..." "Don't explain." Wu Jia didn't care about this. Chuckling, he said, "I just like junior brother's sinister appearance. He's especially cute." Su Yu wanted to ridicule him. "I'm not a villain, I'm not sinister, I'm an honest person. There's something wrong with this senior sister of his. She's slandering me." "Alright, I got it." Wu Jia wasn't stupid either. There were a few stupid civilized teachers. Some people could only be said to be simple, but they still had some intelligence. "Junior brother. I'm still confident that I can get into the bottom 10 of the top 100. What I was worried about before was that other people would keep challenging me, or even lower their ranking to challenge me." Su Yu's eyes lit up slightly. "Senior sister can win. There's hope. That's great. It's best to have them lower their ranking to fight with senior sister, or have them send people to challenge senior sister continuously." Su Yu's eyes lit up as he said, "In this way, senior sister will remember to be miserable. Also, don't hurt the Sea of Will again. Senior sister will fight in the front, and I'll handle the rest." Wu Jia nodded. Su Yu looked at her, he thought for a moment and said, "Senior sister, dress better, and be miserable when you vomit blood. Be stubborn, unwilling, angry, it's best to suffer some superficial wounds. I'll buy some pills for senior sister to remove the scars. It won't be a big problem. Can senior sister endure hardship?" Wu Jia was a little angry. She rubbed Su Yu's head hard and said, "Who are you looking down on? I, your senior sister, had already made it into the top 100 before you came. I also killed my way into the top 100 with real weapons. It's normal for me to get injured." She was very angry. This little junior brother actually looked down on her. Wu Jia ravished him angrily and turned Su Yu's handsome hair into a chicken nest. Then, she said with satisfaction, "Don't worry. It's just a small matter. But, junior brother, are you confident? Among the top 100, only Zhai Feng is a little difficult to deal with. As for the rest, it's not difficult." Su Yu smiled and said, "It's not just the divine script department. They won't take the initiative to lower the ranking and look for trouble with me. In that case, I will only face Zhai Feng, who is ranked 9th at most." As he said that, Su Yu continued, "I'm not confident in dealing with Zhai Feng right now. Even if I can fight him, I can't severely wound him. Then, there's no need to fight." Wu Jia nodded. "I got it. Junior brother, when will it start? Today. Suyu smiled and said, you accept the challenge first. I'll look for people to create momentum so that more people will come to watch. I'll let more people know that it's not that we're looking for trouble. It's just that the Divine Literature Department is 2F** king bullying. Slap. Wuxia gave him a slap and said unhappily, Junior brother, you're not allowed to scold people. Suyu was helpless. Wuxia chuckled and said, smile a little more happily. You'll look good when you smile. Alright, I got it. I'll go take a look outside now. Those bastards won't need me to provoke them when they see me. They'll take the initiative to find fault with me. Suyu nodded, senior sister, I'll take my leave first. I might not be present when you spar with the other party. I'll head over after you're done. Senior sister, be careful. Don't force yourself to admit defeat if you can't win, or even vomit blood and fall to the ground. I know. Wuxia said impatiently, why are you acting like my teacher? You're so long-winded. Suyu smiled and left without saying anything else. Seeing him leave, Wuxia sighed. I feel a little wronged. I'm so weak. I can't even defeat my junior. How embarrassing. I still have to rely on my junior to vent my anger on me. After going upstairs and entering his room, Wuxia changed into a new set of beautiful clothes and walked out of his room. In the hall, Chen Yong was reading a book. When he saw Wuxia walking out, he asked in surprise, are you going out? Yes. Be careful. Don't leave the academy. You don't have to pay attention to other people's provocations. Okay. Wuxia nodded. She was such a good girl. She didn't pay attention to him and just started fighting. In the academy, Suyu didn't find anyone else. Instead, he found Xia Huyo and made some simple arrangements. After that, Suyu returned to the classroom and began today's class. Not many students from the advanced class came today. Wan Mingze and the others didn't come. No one knew if they were cultivating or fighting the leaderboards. Suyu focused on the class. He looked serious, but his thoughts drifted far away. Senior sisters sighed. How was it? Gradually, some students in the class began to lower their bodies to communicate with others. Many of them received the communication. You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories. Chapter 675. Chapter 675, Chapter 175, The Powerful Suyu. Monthly 3-inch. Above, the old instructor was still teaching. At this moment, outside the classroom, someone suddenly knocked on the window anxiously. He couldn't care less about the old instructor anymore. He hurriedly said, Class monitor, the single god language department is challenging senior sister Wuxia. Senior sister Wuxia is about to be beaten to death. It was an intermediate class student. Suyu knew him, but he wasn't too familiar with him. At this moment, Suyu suddenly stood up, his killing intent boiling. He slightly bowed to the instructor above him. Suyu suppressed his anger and said, Teacher, I would like to ask for leave. The old instructor sighed. It was the single god language faculty again. Troublesome. Wuxia. Wuxia was severely injured the last time, and her sea of consciousness hasn't recovered yet. Why did she look for Wuxia again? With this thought in mind, he nodded and quickly said, You should go and take a look. Suyu, don't be rash. There won't be any students dying from sparring in the academy. Thank you, teacher. Suyu nodded and swiftly left the classroom. At this moment, there were more and more people outside the classroom. Many people saw him coming out and anxiously said, Class monitor, senior sister Wu is about to be beaten to death. Those bastards are too inhuman. Suyu's yuan qi burst forth and his speed increased. Even though he was the one who asked Wuxia to act, but that senior sister of his, could she really put down her pride and admit defeat so easily? It was hard to say. Su Yu went down the teaching building. At this moment, many people were running towards the arena area. Someone saw Su Yu and shouted, "Junior Su, hurry up and persuade Wuxia to admit defeat. If she doesn't admit defeat, she will be crippled." Su Yu didn't reply. He stepped on the ground and shot towards that direction. A large group of people were running towards that direction. Some people didn't know what had happened and hurriedly asked, "What's wrong? What else can we do?" The single Divine One faction suffered a loss at Su Yu's side. In the morning, Wu Jia wanted to go to the exchange office to exchange for some injury medicine, but she was stopped halfway. Many people provoked her and insisted on challenging her. "You don't know Wu Jia's temper yet." In a fit of anger, she fought with her injuries. After defeating a few people, her injuries became even worse. On the side of single Divine One, they were too shameless. A large group of men took turns fighting. Wu Jia's clothes were dyed red with blood. In the end, they won a few rounds. Zhu Hong, who was ranked 98th, even deliberately provoked her. Wu Jia was also stupid. She insisted on challenging Zhu Hong, who was ranked 98th. "They're still fighting now. When I left just now, I was already on the verge of dying." F***ck, single Divine One's faction is getting more and more outrageous. That's right, they targeted Su Yu the last time, but in the end, they refused to admit that they had lost so many papers of will. They used a public lecture to send us away with a few thousand merit points, and here we go again. How disgusting. Even the principal doesn't care. They're getting more and more shameless. At first, I only thought that Huang Qifeng and the others were shameless, but now it seems that the entire single divine literature department is like this. F***ck, the principal doesn't care about anything at all. Don't speak nonsense. The group of people were filled with righteous indignation as they all ran in that direction. As for the person who had just spread the news, he ran to another place to continue spreading the news. He had to let many people know. The more people who went, the better. Those who had money to earn. In the arena area. At this moment, Wu Jia was already surrounded by the students. On the stage, his entire body was covered in blood. Opposite him, Zhu Hong frowned. He still didn't want to admit defeat. If they continued fighting, Wu Jia would really be beaten to death. If they killed Wu Jia, then they would be in big trouble. As for the referee. Today's referee was still Zhao Ming. However, Zhao Ming looked like he was watching a show and had no intention of stopping them at all. Wu Jia coughed up blood and held a long sword in his hand. His face was pale. He stood up shakily once again and said, "Zhu Hong, you are really trash. I don't need to use willpower and divine runes. You, a trash, can only do so." Humph. Zhu Hong harumphed coldly. Similarly, he wielded his sword and thrust it toward Wu Jia. A crisp sound echoed in the air. Wu Jia brandished her sword to parry the blow, and the palm between her thumb and index finger ruptured. Under the pressure of the other party's willpower, she found it hard to breathe. With a deep bellow, Wu Jia wrapped her sword around Zhu Hong's sword and swiftly closed in on him. Then, she formed a fist with her left palm and punched out. Zhu Hong's eyes were cold, but he didn't seem to mind. Divine inscriptions burst forth, and a sharp aura burst forth from his body. Pooh, 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 it was as if 10,000 swords had pierced through his heart. Wu Jia's clothes were torn, and numerous wounds appeared on her body. Wu Jia, admit defeat. Below the stage, someone shouted, "You can't even use your willpower. Don't fight with him. Wu Jia, don't be silly." Someone went to look for Su Yu. Quickly admit defeat. In the end, there were still people who couldn't stand it anymore. This was too much of a bully. Wuxia couldn't use his willpower. Previously, he had taken turns to fight against 4 unranked students from the single Divine Runes department. He had defeated 4 of them in a row before challenging Zhu Hong. Zhu Hong had the nerve to accept the challenge. He had the nerve to bully Wuxia, who had yet to recover his willpower. Below, a group of girls were burning with rage. Looking at Wuxia's blood-stained body, someone clenched his fist and cursed angrily, "Is this how the top 100 students go up?" They just watched Zhu Hong bully an injured girl. If you have the ability, go challenge Su Yu. What kind of ability is it to bully the seriously injured Wuxia? Isn't that the case in their department? They only dare to bully the weak. How can they dare to draw their swords against the strong? Why don't I see any of them looking for trouble on Su Yu's side? Zhai Feng is even more shameless. He is ranked 9th and doesn't dare to fight with the top 8. He only knows how to fight with Su Yu, who has only been in school for more than 2 months. How dare he call him a genius? Bah! This group of girls did not have any scruples at this moment. They were too much of a bully and too miserable. Even though Wuxia was not close to them, they felt that it was time for them to speak up when they saw Wuxia being bullied like this. At this moment, Zhu Hong naturally heard those voices. You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories. Chapter 676. Chapter 676, Chapter 175, The Mighty Su Yu. Monthly vote, 4-inch. He was furious. Wuxia didn't admit defeat. Could it be that he admitted defeat? He felt a little sullen. Wuxia didn't even have any fighting strength left. If he insisted on holding on and the referee didn't stop, what could he do? As for taking down the ring, he had the intention to do so several times, but Wuxia avoided him. Then I'll kill you. I don't believe that the referee won't make a move. He didn't want to continue fighting. Wuxia's injuries were getting worse and worse. If he really killed Wuxia, the referee would be unlucky, and he would be even more unlucky. What was up with this Xiao Ming? At this time, Wuxia obviously didn't have any fighting strength left, yet he still didn't announce the result. On the side, Xiao Ming also didn't say anything. Announce the result? How boring. Wu Jiaming was obviously going to fight to the end, or even fight to the death, although he wouldn't let her die. The more miserable it looked, the better. Later. There might be a big show to watch. From the corner of his eye, he looked into the distance. A figure had already stepped on the ground and soared into the sky. It was extremely fast. The main character was here. The show is starting. Zhao Ming muttered in his heart. The next moment, he suddenly made a move and grabbed Zhu Hong's long sword. He frowned slightly and said, "That's enough. Zhu Hongsheng, just kick him off the stage. You really want to kill him?" Zhu Hong looked at him with a frown and did not say anything. Nonsense. I can kick him off, do I need you to teach me? No matter what, Wu Jia's strength is still at the critical juncture. It's just that he can't use his willpower anymore. On the stage, Wu Jia was already in a daze. He had lost too much blood. Zhao Ming waved a white light, and the wound gradually began to heal. In the next moment, a figure stepped on the air and came over. With a rumble, he landed on the stage. Su Yu quickly helped Wu Jia up, took off his white robe, and covered Wu Jia's body. He turned his head to look at Zhu Hong. He said in a low voice, "You're very good. You're very good in the Divine Literature department alone. You bully the weak and fear the strong. You constantly bully a female student who is seriously injured, constantly provoking her." Su Yu hugged Wu Jia and looked at the crowd below. He said expressionlessly, time and time again. "We are here to learn, not to be brave and ruthless time and time again. Even if we are brave and ruthless, why are we bullying an injured girl time and time again when we are fighting with someone stronger than us? Has the single divine one faction fallen to such a state? Do you only know how to do such dirty and shameless things? My teacher only challenges those who are stronger than him. He never bullies the weak. I, Su Yu, will only challenge those who are stronger than me, not those who are weaker. I am weak because I have more divine literature department and fewer people, but this is not a reason for you to humiliate me again and again. Su Yu coldly shouted, since you don't care about your face anymore, then why should I still give you face? You seriously injured my senior sister again today. You bunch of animals have completely angered me. Su Yu suddenly looked at Zhu Hong, his eyes bursting with killing intent. You piece of trash, a dog that bullies the weak and fears the strong. I want to challenge you, do you dare to accept it? Su Yu looked around and shouted, a piece of trash from the single divine one department, do you dare to accept? Go on stage. Aren't you all brave and fierce? Aren't you going to challenge our department? Come on stage. Today, I want to go up to the top 100 and cripple you piece of trash, scum. Below the stage, there were more and more people. Su Yu shouted, a bunch of dogs, do you only dare to bully my senior sister? Because she is injured, do you dare to open your mouth and bite people? Dogs are dogs. At this moment, other than those from the single divine one faction, no one felt that his scolding was unpleasant to hear. Venting his anger. He was too much of a bully. He only dared to bully Wuxia. When Wuxia wasn't injured, he didn't see any of you standing out. On the stage, Zhu Hong's face turned green. But to accept Su Yu's challenge. Su Yu had even crippled Huang Qifeng, how could he be a match for him? Su Yu sneered and looked at Zhu Hong. Trash. Scum. I know you don't dare. You bunch of dogs, you only know how to fight among yourselves, you only know how to bully injured people, how dare you fight with me? At this moment, someone below the stage said coldly, Su Yu, try challenging me then. Su Yu looked at him and snorted. Zhai Feng, who do you think you are? If you want to die, I will fulfill your wish sooner or later. However, just like Huang Qifeng, I will come back to settle the score with you when I reach that stage. After saying that, he ignored him and shouted, since Zhu Hong, this trash, doesn't dare to, the trash who just fought with my senior sister, attack together. Attack together. Attack together with Zhu Hong, this trash. A bunch of scoundrels. If one of them doesn't dare to go up on stage, then let's all go up together. As soon as these words were said, many people looked at him in shock. One had to know that even if the person who just fought with Wu Jia wasn't as strong as the top 100 students, he was still very close. He was too weak, and he didn't dare to fight with Wu Jia who was at the critical juncture. Wasn't Su Yu too arrogant? Everyone knew that he was strong, but Su Yu hadn't reached the level of Wan Shi yet. It was difficult for two fists to fight against four hands. Even if Wan Shi was facing more than 1,000 Jun, he would still fall. In the southern Yuan, 10,000 stones from the Myriad Clan sect was killed by a group of 10,000 tons. A group of trash, don't you dare. Su Yu shouted, do you only dare to bully the weak? Is the single divine literature sect filled with such trash? Then the single divine literature sect might as well be abolished. On the battlefield, they will only be a group of reserve troops from the Myriad Clan sect. Deserters, trash. The Great Xia Civilization Academy cultivates such things. A group of people don't even dare to fight against me alone. Scum like you are destined to become traitors of the human race. When you go on the battlefield, when the 10,000 races of the heavens arrive, you will most likely kowtow and surrender. You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories. Chapter 677. Chapter 677, Chapter 175, The Powerful Su Yu. Monthly 5-inch. The words agitated some of the students from the monotheistic department below, causing their faces to turn red. Zhu Hong's face was also extremely ugly. Zhai Feng looked at Su Yu coldly. Su Yu looked at him and sneered, "Zhai Feng, do you think that what I said is inappropriate? Don't worry, it will be your turn soon. I will fight them one by one. Wait for me, don't be anxious. I will make sure that no one dares to challenge you. I will kill you step by step. I will show you that trash is trash." Zhai Feng said coldly, "Su Yu, you defeated Wang He. Now, you want to challenge others." Su Yu interrupted him, "I'm sorry, I'm not a student of the top 100. As for why I fell off the list, isn't it because of you shameless people? Now, don't tell me you still want to pour dirty water on me. Why did you, Su Yu, lower your ranking?" Su Yu mocked, "What kind of logic is that? It's all said by your single divine one faction. I'm on the list, and you shamelessly lower your ranking to challenge me. I'm not on the list, and you say that I'm too strong and shouldn't challenge the weak. Is that disgusting? So disgusting." Su Yu spat, "So disgusting that it makes me want to vomit. Just this group of trash, I tied my hands and could also cripple them. It's you guys that make me sick. Otherwise, I wouldn't even bother to fight with a bunch of bugs. Is he even worthy?" Su Yu pointed at Zhu Hong and shouted, "Is he worthy? If it wasn't for this scoundrel who hurt my senior sister, would this kind of bug be worthy to stand in front of me?" Zhu Hong was still a student on the top 100 ranking, and he had fought his way up with great difficulty. These few days, the top 100 ranking had been constantly changing. Some people had been eliminated, and some people had entered the ranking. He had fought his way into the top 100 with great difficulty, but today, he was humiliated by Su Yu. His face immediately flushed red, and he growled, "Su Yu, don't think that you're really invincible. It's easy to kill a piece of trash like you." Su Yu's killing intent was awe-inspiring. He looked at him and shouted, "Piece of trash, all of you attack me together. Do you dare?" Zhu Hong's mind was shaken. He took a step back and only felt that there was a mountain of corpses and a sea of blood in front of him. In the next moment, he woke up. He only felt embarrassed and ashamed. He was actually scared. TCH. Ha ha ha. He was scared before the battle. As expected, he was really scared. Below the stage, many people were booing. It was too embarrassing. Let's go. There were 4 or 5 people who were close to the top 100. How can we be scared? They are really useless. Yeah, they don't even dare to do that. They only know how to bully the injured. Wuxia is a seriously injured person. The Divine Literature department is really going back to its old ways. All of the students were agitating loudly. Some of the researchers had already arrived. Some of Ling Yun's powerhouses looked at the students who were talking about life. Some of them were afraid, while others didn't care. Someone even provoked, "What? Ling Yun wants to hit me?" That's right, it's the traditional style of the Divine Literature department. Ling Yun is killing to preserve his temper. He's so powerful. The person who spoke was none other than Jing Yunhui. Jing Yunhui's face was filled with excitement and he couldn't wait to cheer him up. He looked at the researcher and laughed. "What, are you still looking? What are you looking at? Am I wrong? Everyone is watching. Your people are really weak. If they were in Zhanjing College, even if they weren't a match for them, they would have already gone up and done it. Look, they're even worse than women. Wu Jia is injured." Zhu Hong provoked them, and even if they were seriously injured, they still dared to go up and fight. This is what a real woman is like. Your single divine script department is even worse than women. Many girls stared at him and felt that what he said made sense. Contemptuous. Wasn't the single divine literature department the strongest department in the academy? Just like that. Several researchers quickly transmitted their voices. If it was someone else provoking them, they wouldn't need to pay attention to them, but Su Yu. If they didn't pay attention to him, the single divine literature department would really lose face. Zhu Hong, you guys accept the challenge. After you go up on stage, you feel that you aren't a match for him, so quickly admit defeat. Since he wants you all to fight together, then let's fight together. One person is definitely no match for him. We can't refuse the challenge, or else, the hearts of the single divine one faction will be shaken. At this moment, the few researchers clearly felt that something was wrong. Many of the single divine one faction freshmen were already somewhat shaken. There was struggle in their eyes, hidden disdain, and disappointment. This was the strongest single divine text department. Even if they weren't a match for them, they would still go up. Look at Wuxia. He was still injured. Even if they weren't a match for him, they would still fight to the end. However, Zhu Hong and the others only made them feel endless shame. If they were to continue being led by Su Yu, the new students would waver, and the older students would be disappointed. Some of the researchers even felt a little aggrieved and ashamed. If this continued, the single divine text department would become the laughingstock of the entire Great Xia Manor. It was fine if they weren't a match for him, but if they didn't even dare to accept the challenge, what kind of joke was that? Accept the challenge. The few researchers quickly came to a decision. They transmitted their voices to the few students and accepted the challenge. The next moment, Zhu Hong gritted his teeth and shouted, "Good. Su Yu, since you want to challenge us, it was you who said that you wanted to challenge the 5 of us. Let's all go up together." Below the stage, the other 4 students jumped onto the stage one after another. They were all a little angry and embarrassed. It was too embarrassing. As for Su Yu, he smiled. He carried Wuxia and walked off the stage. He placed Wuxia on the ground. Wuxia was already awake. Su Yu said in a low voice, "Thank you for your hard work, senior sister." After saying that, he turned around and jumped onto the stage. "I'll cripple all of you." Zhao Ming was also interested. He shouted, "Let's not talk about the rules. Can we begin?" "Su Yu, are you sure you want to challenge the 5 of us?" "Yes." "Alright, then. Let's begin." With that shout, Zhu Hong and the others instantly blacked out. In the next moment, their willpower was corroded, and they cried out in pain. Excruciating pain. It was too painful. The pain was so painful that they felt as if their lives were worse than death. A hammer smashed into Zhu Hong's sea of consciousness in a way that no one else could see. His sea of consciousness shook violently, and his willpower was corroded. His vision turned black. The difference was too great. In the blink of an eye, the 5 people were corroded by Su Yu's soul-devouring art, and they cried out in pain. When the small hammer was thrown out, these people didn't even have the time to cry out in pain. They were a little dizzy. Killing intent exploded in Su Yu's eyes. He moved his feet, and almost at the same time as the small hammer was thrown out, he lashed out with his leg. Crack, crack, crack. With just this kick, Zhu Hong's bones seemed to have been broken. He crashed heavily onto the ground, but he still didn't come back to his senses. The injuries to his willpower were even more severe. The other 4 people almost simultaneously lashed out with their 4 legs, and they fell to the ground at the same time. Like 5 puppets, the moment they stepped onto the stage, the 5 people were instantly defeated. They did not have the ability to retaliate at all. A long saber appeared, and Su Yu slashed down at the 5 people who were lying on the ground. Zhao Ming was just about to stop him when Su Yu shouted, "No one was killed." Zhao Ming was stunned for a moment, and he withdrew his hand. In the next moment, the long saber slashed down in the air. Ah! A series of miserable screams rang out. In the air, scattered willpower overflowed. Su Yu had used his literary weapons to shatter their willpower. Bang! One kick after another, 5 people were kicked off the stage. The 5 people were all as if they had died. They were stacked together and were lying in front of Wuxia. Trash. Scum. Suyu snorted coldly. He looked around and looked at those researchers with a disdainful expression. Silence. He knew that Suyu was strong, but this time, Suyu was even stronger than the previous time. He was terrifyingly strong. The 5 students and the top 100 students didn't even have the strength to retaliate. They didn't even have the chance to admit defeat. Defeated. A crushing defeat. Some of the researchers' faces also changed. This fellow was even stronger. Even more terrifying. Soul-devouring art. It corroded everyone's willpower. Civilized master's nemesis. P.S. Asking for a monthly ticket, too difficult. You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories. Chapter 678. Chapter 678, Chapter 176, First Meeting Xia Yuan, Monthly 1. Soul-devouring art. Has he really deduced it? Suyu has learned it. He did not use his innate blood essence. Below the stage, the expressions of a group of researchers changed. Eroding and burning willpower, was it really caused by Yuan Qi? Was it caused by Yuan Qi mutation? Streams of willpower came probing over, but they did not get too close to avoid misunderstandings. However, many people still used their willpower to probe Zhu Hong and the others. They felt the injuries to their willpower. Was it caused by Yuan Qi or an explosion of willpower? On the stage, Suyu was indifferent. He did not care about what those people said as he shouted, the top-ranked student from the single divine language department, come on stage. The moment these words were said, Lu He's expression in the crowd turned extremely ugly. It's me. Lu He gritted his teeth and simply did not go on stage. He said somewhat aggrievedly, I admit defeat. Last time, he had just been defeated by Suyu in the top 100. These few days, he had fought with great difficulty to reach the 92nd place. What was there to fight about? Last time, he was not Suyu's match, not to mention this time. No one made a sound. Although a few researchers felt somewhat dissatisfied, when they thought of Zhu Hong's fate, they did not say anything. He was seriously injured. Suyu was too powerful and overbearing. Then let's go up another one. Suyu shouted, don't tell me none of you dare to go up on stage. Since you don't dare, then pretend to be a coward and humiliate my senior sister. What kind of ability is that? Go up on stage. Suyu's voice was loud. You don't dare. Top 100 students, you don't even dare to accept the challenge. Suyu's Yuan Qi exploded, and his voice was like a loud bell. Those who are willing to stand up for the single divine language faculty can also go up on stage. A kind person will be bullied by others. Today, I would like to see how strong the single divine language faculty, who disregards their honor and humiliates a seriously injured girl, is. Suyu. Below the stage, a researcher shouted coldly, enough. Don't keep talking about the single divine prose faction. Student sparring, the academy's rules. Everything is within the rules. You spoke rudely, do you still have the slightest bit of civilized attitude? Suyu looked down at the other party, he shouted, spoke rudely. If teacher thinks so, then that's speaking rudely. Dozens of students who are unharmed bullying my senior sister, does that still make sense? I want to challenge Huang Qifeng, let him come up. How about a life and death battle? Suyu shouted, do you dare? If Huang Qifeng dares to come up, I won't use my willpower. I'll chop him alive. Do you dare? Do you dare? The shouts echoed in the arena area. The researcher who had spoken earlier had an ugly expression and didn't reply. Huang Qifeng. He had just woken up. Go up on stage. Go up on what stage? Are you really not afraid of his death? Su Yu compared Huang Qifeng to Wuxia. All of a sudden, the Divine Runes department didn't respond. What else could they say? Right at this moment, the crowd suddenly dispersed, and waves of exclamations could be heard. At the periphery of the crowd, a young man dressed in a black robe with his hands behind his back and his hair in a shawl walked over with an imposing manner. Many people had expressions of shock. Why had this person returned? In the distance, Lu Hong instantly hid himself behind a tree trunk. He had a feeling of being a thief. Looking at that person, he cursed in his heart. Didn't he say that he would be back in a month? Why was he back now? Researcher Xia Yuan. Many people greeted him one after another. The young man nodded slightly, but he did not reply. Instead, he looked straight at Su Yu. He glanced at Su Yu and then at the others. He said calmly, "Let's spar then. You should be punished for disregarding your teacher. To contradict your teacher, to severely injure your classmate, to seek revenge for the smallest grievance, you deserve to be punished. The ignorance of your student is the fault of your teacher. Bai Feng will revoke the 3-month merit reward, and Su Yu will revoke the merit reward for his high-class student. As punishment." The young man looked around and said coldly, sparring, life and death battle, anything goes. Disrespecting your teacher, disrespecting others, you should be punished. Many people looked at the young man. Su Yu also frowned and said, "Teacher Xia, which rule did you follow to punish me?" He already knew who the person was. Xia Yuan. The peerless genius who suppressed Bai Feng and Wu Qi's generation. Below the stage, Xia Yuan turned his head to look at him. His voice was cold as he said, "It's not according to the academy's rules, it's military law. Disrespecting the higher-ups and disobeying the rules, then they should be punished. In the Great Xia Civilization Academy, all the students, in addition to their status as students, have another identity. Reserve Sergeant, do you have any doubts?" Su Yu was silent. After a moment, he said, "No doubt. Since Teacher Xia feels that he should be punished, then he should be punished. I admit that I do not respect my teachers. A teacher from the Divine Literature Department is not worthy of my respect." Xia Yuan did not waste time talking to him. She looked at Zhao Ming and said coldly, "A heavily injured student is not a life-and-death battle. Why didn't the judge stop him?" Zhao Ming looked at him with a serious expression. After a long while, he said, "You're not dead, but your willpower is seriously injured. You can still continue to cultivate. Why did you stop me? The referee can declare defeat if you don't have the strength to fight back. Don't you know?" Xia Yuan said coldly, "Zhao Ming, step down from the stage. You have been removed from your position as the referee of the top 100 matches." Zhao Ming's eyes changed and he suddenly laughed. "Xia Yuan, you don't have the right to control me. You don't have the right to give me orders." Xia Yuan said calmly, "I've already entered Lingyun. Just now, I took over the position of inspector of the Lingyun realm. Since you've entered the Lingyun realm, I can control you." Zhao Ming's expression changed. After a long while, he smiled and said, "All right, you're the one in charge. Xia Yuan, you even have to control the sparring between students. You do have a lot of control. Luckily, you're not Shanghai. Otherwise, the position of the manor head would be yours." Xia Yuan ignored him. Zhao Ming smiled and did not mind. He jumped off the stage. Xia Yuan suddenly looked at Lu Hong in the corner and said calmly, "Lu Hong, you go up. You will be the judge of the top 100. You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories." Chapter 679. Chapter 679, Chapter 176 First Meeting Xia Yuan, Monthly 2. On the other side, Lu Hong was all smiles and did not say anything. He quickly stepped into the air and landed on the arena. Xia Yuan did not say much. He turned his head to look at the person behind him and said calmly, "Since Su Yu thinks that he is strong and has nothing to fear, Zhou Hao, you go up and challenge him." Lu Hong frowned slightly and quickly resolved it. He smiled and said, "Senior brother Xia, this is a new student." Xia Yuan said calmly, "I accepted him before the start of the school year. He was registered long ago, but I have yet to return. I have yet to enter the school. Today, he will return with me." Behind him stood a boy who was not tall. He was very ordinary. He had a crew cut and did not wear a long robe. Instead, he wore a short outfit. He had been following Xia Yuan the entire time, but not many people had noticed him. If Xia Yuan had not opened his mouth, perhaps they would have ignored this person. Many people turned to look at the young man. The young man did not mind. He bared his teeth and smiled as he looked at Su Yu on the stage. It was a very pure gaze. However, at this moment, Su Yu's heart moved slightly. That gaze was filled with a chill. Looking at someone, it made one's heart palpitate. This fellow has killed people before. Su Yu quickly made a judgment in his heart. Not only had he killed many people, he had also restrained his killing intent. In other words, the other party did not think that killing people was that great. Where did Xia Yuan take in his students? From the Zhou clan? That was unlikely. Unless they were from a branch, the direct descendants of the Zhou clan would not dress up like that. Large clans cared a lot about such things. Wan Mingze and the others would definitely not wear shorts out of doors. Xia Yuan calmly said, "For the sake of a student sparring, the entire residence is aware of the commotion. It's a joke. The commotion is so great that no one knows what you are up to. Zhou Hao, go up and challenge him." The short-hitting youth bared his teeth and smiled as he walked towards the arena. Walking onto the arena, he looked at Su Yu and bared his teeth once more. "Zhou Hao, freshman, challenge this senior brother." Freshman. However, at this moment, Su Yu felt a sense of oppression. A divine light flashed in his eyes as he looked at Zhou Hao. What dense yuan qi? This fellow did not look like a civilized master, but more like a fighter. The rich yuan qi on his body was frightening. Furthermore, he did not look like Wan Shi, but more like Qian Jun. Lu Hong coughed lightly and said with a smile, "Zhou Hao, do you know the rules? You are a freshman and have not entered the ranking. Su Yu happens to be in the 98th place. You are qualified to challenge him. How old are you this year? You are not even 30 years old. 18. Then there is no problem." Lu Hong smiled and said, "As for your identity, I will check it." As he said that, he walked to the side and checked on a machine. He nodded and said, "You are indeed a new student. You have already entered the school before. You are a student of researcher Xia Yuan. Su Yu, will you accept the challenge?" "Accept?" "You have to accept." Previously, Su Yu had said so many words and ridiculed and despised the students of the single divine language department. Now that he did not accept the challenge, the previous words were all nonsense. He had become a joke. "You, Su Yu, only dare to challenge me because you are stronger than the others. Now that the freshmen are challenging you, why don't you dare to accept?" Su Yu looked at Xia Yuan. He had definitely come a long time ago. At this moment, asking his students to challenge me was within his calculations. He didn't give me a chance to reject. This bastard, he definitely didn't just come back. Even if this Zhou Hao's strength wasn't obvious, Su Yu knew that he must be very strong. Su Yu's gaze was ice cold, but he quickly regained his composure. "Accept the challenge." On the other side, Zhou Hao smiled. "Senior brother Su, sparring is very boring. How about We fight a life and death battle. Lu Hong coughed lightly and said, this requires both sides' teachers to sign for confirmation. Su Yu, Bai Feng has left, right? Bai Feng wasn't around. At this moment, divine runes appeared in Lu Hong's eyes as he stole a glance at Zhou Hao. He was slightly shocked. At the same time, below, Jia Mingzhen frowned and sent a voice transmission, where did you get this wild kid? Is he cultivating the Thousand Mountains technique? He should be. A pavilion elder quickly said, he has opened 144 apertures, a top heaven rank cultivation technique. However, after cultivating the Thousand Mountains technique to the 1000 June 9 levels, it is difficult to close one's apertures. In fact, it is impossible to close one's apertures. Isn't Xia Yuan afraid that the other party will be completely crippled if he passes this to his student? It doesn't seem like the way to cultivate willpower. The degree of accumulation is very low, and the main thing is the physical body. Yes, it shouldn't be the divine script. It's just that the physical body is strong, and there are many apertures. Su Yu also has many. Su Yu doesn't have a large system. His 144 apertures are a large system. Su Yu's soul-devouring technique is ineffective against him. With his willpower suppressed, even if the divine script explodes, he might not be able to defeat him. The pavilion elders were slightly solemn. Thousand Mountain Art was a top-tier cultivation technique, a true heaven-tier top-tier cultivation technique. Unfortunately, after cultivating to the Qianjun 9th level, it was extremely difficult to fuse one's apertures. Many people coveted the strength of this cultivation technique back then, but in the end, they all failed to fuse their apertures and had no choice but to switch to other cultivation techniques. The young man before them had actually opened 144 apertures, and he had completely cultivated it. He was only a step away from breaking through to the 10,000 stone realm. Although Su Yu had many apertures, he could only open 108 of them at most. His instantaneous explosive strength might not even be as good as the other parties. From the strength of his physical body alone, Su Yu might not be able to match up to the other party. Xia Yuan had also plotted for this person to go up on the stage. Not cultivating willpower. As such, the effect of the soul-devouring art would be greatly reduced. As for suppressing willpower, Su Yu was not flying in the air, so the suppression was limited. The other party had many apertures and had a strong explosive strength, so Su Yu might not be able to suppress him. On the stage, Su Yu secretly took a deep breath. The life and death arena. What an arrogant tone. The other party was probably not weak at all. Perhaps, he was cultivating a heaven-ranked cultivation technique. You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories. Chapter 680. Chapter 680, Chapter 176 First Meeting Xia Yuan, Monthly 3. Su Yu's eyes flickered, very quickly, he said, in the arena of life and death, my teacher is not around and no one has signed. How about this? Since you want to challenge me and even said the arena of life and death, then you won't admit defeat. You and I. Let's see who will die in the end. The loser will be the loser. Zhou Hao bared his teeth and smiled. That's fine too. Although I can't kill anyone, I have some regrets. Su Yu looked at Lu Hong and said in a deep voice, Dear students, I would like to trouble someone to make a trip and call the library pavilion's director Chen over. I'm afraid that some of the judges won't be fair. Very soon, someone ran toward the library pavilion. Below the stage, Wuxia had already woken up with a worried expression on his face. After Su Yu had defeated Zhu Hong and the others, there was actually someone who dared to challenge him to a life and death battle. It was obvious that he was extremely confident in himself. Moreover, this was a student that Xia Yuan had brought back. Xia Yuan was a super genius who suppressed Bai Feng, Wu Qi, and the others. Would his student be bad? Wu Jia was worried. His junior brother had never said that such a thing would happen. Lu Hong smiled, shrugged, and didn't mind. He was happy and relaxed. He wouldn't do anything. There were so many people watching. Moreover, if he did something, it was hard to say who he would help. Xia Yuan had returned. How troublesome. He cursed Zhou Mingren in his heart. Damn it, didn't he say that it would be a month? How many days has it been? This old bastard lied to me. Soon, Chen Yong arrived. He glanced at the two people on the stage, then at Xia Yuan, and then at the injured Wuxia. He felt a splitting headache. It had only been a short while since he left her alone. How could such a huge incident have happened? Uncle Master, please help me supervise. In addition, Zhou Hao and I will not determine life and death. We will only determine victory and defeat. We will not admit defeat and will not step down from the stage. Chen Yong wanted to say something, but he stopped himself. Suyu smiled and said, Uncle Master, I like to challenge the strong. Chen Yong sighed slightly. He nodded and looked at Lu Hong. He did not say anything and looked at Xia Yuan. On the other side, Xia Yuan had his hands behind his back and did not look at him at all. Chen Yong did not say anything. In the next moment, Xia Yuan's body trembled slightly. Xia Yuan, the Xia family is fighting for the position of the mansion master. We can't get involved. However, if you insist on stepping on us, it's not suitable. There aren't many people left in the multi-divine pros sect. I won't bully you. When you reach the 9th level of Lingyun, I want to try your saber. Xia Yuan turned his head to look at him. Chen Yong smiled at him and nodded slightly. He sent another voice transmission. This matter has nothing to do with you. If you insist on participating, then fine, I'll wait for you. You're almost at the 3rd level of Lingyun, and your improvement is much faster than my junior brother's. Come and find me when you reach the 9th level. Xia Yuan's eyes sparkled. 9th level, go and find him. Chen Yong. Chen Yong didn't say anything else, nor did he send another voice transmission. He looked at the arena. On the arena. Lu Hong glanced at the two of them and said with a smile, since no one has any objections, then. Let's begin. The moment he said that, 2 afterimages were left behind as a loud boom was heard. With a bang, Suyu took a step back and stepped on the arena's ground. Creak, sparks flew in all directions. Zhou Hao bared his teeth and smiled. 144 light spots flashed. The tiger pounced over with both hands forming claws. Its speed was extremely fast as it instantly clawed at Suyu. Suyu's willpower erupted and suppressed. Boom! A huge Yuan Qi light pillar struck, directly causing Suyu's willpower to fluctuate. Suyu's face turned pale. So strong. His Yuan Qi was also very pure. The 144 acupuncture points formed into one and were extremely powerful. Even Suyu did not have such explosive strength. Fight! Kill! Suyu roared and immediately gave up on suppressing his willpower. With a stomp of his feet, he used the momentum to counterattack. Bang bang bang! The two of them exchanged dozens of moves in an instant. Zhou Hao roared as his hands formed into claws and grabbed Suyu's arm. With a crash, flesh and blood flew everywhere, causing Suyu's arms to splatter with blood. 1,000 lives 9 layers. They were both of the same 1,000 lives 9 layers. At this moment, the aftershock from the two of them exchanging blows in an instant shocked some of the 1,000 lives 9 layers. Suyu had opened 180 apertures. Zhou Hao had opened 144 apertures. One had 108 apertures as a system while the other had 144 apertures as a system. Their strengths were actually on par. Suyu's explosive strength was slightly inferior to the other party, but his vitality was deep and his physical body was strong. his defensive and blocking abilities were superior to the other parties. These two fellows, can they still be considered civilized masters? Someone ridiculed. Can they still be considered civilized masters? Weren't they the thugs of Zhanjiang College? Furthermore, with the strength of these two, even if they were to enter Zhanjiang College, they would be able to charge into the 10,000 stone roll of Zhanjiang College with just their physical bodies. Where did so many monsters come from this year? In the past, if such a student came from Zhanjiang College, they would probably beat up the so-called genius monsters. Bang bang bang. Su Yu kicked again and again, not knowing fatigue. He tore through the air and kicked the surrounding Yuan Qi, causing Zhou Hao to continuously retreat. As for Zhou Hao, he was also extremely powerful. The Thousand Mountains technique also had its own exclusive martial technique. A matching martial technique. Similarly, it was extremely powerful and was also a heaven-rank martial technique. At this moment, his body was as heavy as a mountain and his strength was boundless. A punch struck the soles of Su Yu's feet. Kacha, the bones of his feet shattered, and Su Yu's leg struck his arm, causing blood and flesh to fly everywhere. Su Yu retreated, and intense pain came from beneath his feet. Zhou Hao bared his teeth and laughed again. Once again, he charged forward. He did not use any weapons, but relied entirely on his hands. His hands formed claws once again as he clawed forward. His Yuan Qi exploded, and the air was filled with the sounds of explosions. Every time he was struck, there would be a few more bloody holes on his body. Su Yu swung his fist to counterattack. The two exchanged blows at an extremely fast speed. Rumble. Explosions sounded one after another. There was a loud bang. The two afterimages separated. A bloody claw mark appeared on Su Yu's chest while Zhou Hao's shoulder was torn apart. His bones were ghastly white. You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories. Chapter 681. Chapter 681, Chapter 176 First Meeting Xia Yuan, Monthly 4. He, very strong. Zhou Hao, who had not spoken since the battle, licked his lips. Very strong. I have never met an opponent in the Qianjun realm. Senior brother did not disappoint me. You will not be disappointed. Su Yu's tone was also very calm. He played it down. Pain, that was not important. Zhou Hao's killing intent was very strong. When he fought, his body carried a natural bloody smell. It was obvious that he had been killing all this time. However, Su Yu did not feel that he was inferior to him. I have experienced too much death. Since I was young, I was not afraid of death. In the blink of an eye, the two of them collided again. Boom! On the stage, the hard ground was hit with a string of sparks. The explosions continued. Leg shadows. Claw marks. With a cracking sound, a clear sound was heard. Su Yu's left hand drooped down. His arm was broken, and blood flowed down from his shoulder. Su Yu did not care at all. He stabbed out with his foot. The afterimage formed a thin mist. With a poochie sound, the tip of his foot directly pierced into Zhou Hao's thigh, and fresh blood gushed out. Zhou Hao laughed mischievously and pounced forward, dragging his crippled leg as he swiftly pounced forward. Taking advantage of Su Yu's unstable footing, he instantly grabbed Su Yu's right hand. A smile appeared in his eyes, and his smile was as pure as ever. His smile was not malevolent, and both of his hands forcefully twisted in the opposite direction, wanting to break Su Yu's right hand once again. Humph! A cold snort rang out. At this moment, a long blade suddenly appeared, bringing with it the power of lightning. With a rumble, the blade cut through everything, slashing towards Su Yu's hands. Zhou Hao's expression changed slightly, and he wanted to let go. But at this moment, Su Yu's right hand twisted, and his 3 arms were tightly entangled together. Pooh! The saber fell. The 3 arms were broken at the same time and fell to the ground. Ah! Below the stage, a group of people exclaimed. So ruthless. In order to cut off the other party's arms, Suyu even cut off his own right hand. Zhou Hao's arms were broken, and fresh blood gushed out. The blood disappeared in an instant, and his face turned extremely pale in the blink of an eye. As for Suyu, his left hand was broken, and his right hand was broken. His face was also deathly pale. But at this moment, he revealed a smile. He stepped into the air. His legs were like fireballs, swiftly kicking out and striking in the air. Rumble. A loud sound rang out. Zhou Hao's arms were broken, and he looked a little ferocious. He also lifted his leg and kicked. More than 10 moves in a row. With a cracking sound, the sound of bones breaking could be heard from Zhou Hao's legs. Suyu's legs were also bleeding profusely. At this moment, both of them were covered in blood. No one admitted defeat. Don't admit defeat. Suyu let out a low laugh, and a long saber fell from the sky. Lightning flashed. Rumble. Zhou Hao rolled on the ground, and the long saber cut a crack on the stage. He instantly changed directions and charged at him again. Zhou Hao gritted his teeth and suddenly roared. His body grew stronger, and his mouth became incomparably huge. He bit the long saber that was flying towards him, and with a crack, his teeth shattered. However, there were still some teeth left. He bit the long saber tightly, and as the long saber shook, his mouth was already a bloody mess. Right at this moment, Suyu leaped into the air again and stomped down. A beast-like muffled roar came from Zhou Hao's throat. His hair stood on end and was dyed golden. He charged towards Suyu. Boom! With a loud bang, Suyu was sent flying. Zhou Hao's scalp was covered in blood, but he was like a mad demon. He shook his head and threw the long blade away. He charged towards Suyu once again. Bang! Suyu, who had just landed, was just about to stabilize his body when Zhou Hao stomped on the ground. The arena shook and Suyu staggered slightly. He was hit in the chest by Zhou Hao. The sound of bones breaking could be heard. Everything happened too quickly. Most of the students below the stage could not see it at all. A small portion of them could only see a few afterimages. And at that moment, while Suyu spat out blood, his expression was still as cold as ever. At that moment, a hammer appeared once again. Below the stage, Chen Yong and Xia Yuan's bodies trembled. Willpower martial technique. The hammer came crashing down. This time, Zhou Hao sensed something, but he could not produce the powerful Yuan Qi beam that he had the first time. With a roar and Yuan Qi explosion, he was unable to block the hammer. Boom! His head rumbled. Outsiders could not see anything but Zhou Hao's sudden pause. And at that moment, Suyu kicked out. With a bang, flesh and blood exploded. Zhou Hao's chest was directly pierced through. The innards inside could be seen clearly. Suyu would not show the slightest mercy. If Bai Feng was not present on stage today, they would have had to fight to the death. Zhou Hao had proposed the life and death arena. Since he was not dead now, who cared about him? His left leg lashed out once again. With a bang, Zhou Hao's legs were broken. With a bang, Zhou Hao knelt on the ground. He was awake. With a maniacal roar, he slammed his head into Suyu once more and leaped into the air. Yuan Qi burst forth, making him extremely powerful. Savage! Below the stage, the students opposite of Zhou Hao were so shocked that they retreated one after another. This fellow was already in such a state, yet he was still so savage. It was too terrifying. The baleful aura that assaulted their faces left them with lingering fear. And this was even below the stage. On the stage, how much pressure did Su Yu have to bear, and how much courage did he have to dare to fight with such a fierce person? However, when they thought about how Su Yu was so ruthless that he even dared to cut off his own arm. At this moment, even the few researchers from the Divine Literature Department felt their hearts palpitate. Xia Yuan didn't know where he found such a savage student, but in the end, when Su Yu, this refined guy, really fought, he didn't look like a civilized teacher at all. It was just two humanoid beasts. You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories. Chapter 682. Chapter 682, Chapter 176 First Meeting Xia Yuan, Monthly 5. Su Yu won. Below the stage, Jia Mingjin exclaimed. When Su Yu ruthlessly cut off his own arm, he won. With one hand, he crippled Zhou Hao's two strongest hands, and Su Yu won. At this moment, there was no suspense. If they really fought for a long time, Su Yu might not lose, but in order to quickly defeat his opponent. Even Jia Mingjin sighed, how ruthless. Truly vicious. To be able to do such a thing to himself, it wasn't like he didn't have a chance to win. In order to ensure his victory, he actually did such a thing. He felt that there was no need for him to provoke Su Yu, and there was no need for him to challenge him. When this fellow went crazy, he would really risk his life. On the stage, it was just as Jia Mingjin had thought. When Zhou Hao's arms were severed, he lost. However, Zhou Hao was also a vicious person. He didn't admit defeat, nor did he feign death. Instead, he continued fighting with Su Yu ferociously. If his arms were cut off, then his legs were cut off. If his legs were cut off, then his head, teeth, back, chest. There was nothing that could not be killed. This was much stronger than Huang Qifeng back then. Of course, Huang Qifeng's willpower had suffered a heavy blow. Zhou Hao's willpower had also suffered a heavy blow. However, he was not strong to begin with. The backlash was not strong either. He was just dizzy. Just as Zhou Hao was flying in the air again and his head was about to hit him. A long knife flew back again. It turned into a small knife and shot out, heading straight for his head. Lu Hong was just about to make a move when Zhou Hao shouted, "I didn't lose." Lu Hong was so happy that he didn't make a move. He saw Zhou Hao roar and move his head slightly, allowing the small knife to explode and shatter his ears. His face was covered in blood and flesh, and he raised his head to bite the small knife to death. The blood in his mouth had already turned dark purple, and he once again charged towards Su Yu. Humph! Su Yu snorted coldly. He kicked with his left leg and flew into the sky. He bent his right knee and sent a flying knee strike. Boom! An explosion sounded. This knee strike was extremely powerful, and it directly hit Zhou Hao's head. With a loud bang, his head was on the verge of exploding. Zhou Hao roared crazily and threw out the knife to bite Su Yu. Pfft! A piece of flesh was bitten off by him, but Zhou Hao was powerless. Su Yu's small knife flew back and was about to stab into his head. Lu Hong still made his move at this time. He instantly walked out and grabbed the long knife. If he waited any longer, Zhou Hao would die. He had just grabbed the small knife when he suddenly cursed in his heart. Black flames erupted, burning his willpower to the point of extreme pain. F***ck. This son of a b***tch, he actually burned me. Just as he was being burned, a ruthless glint flashed in Su Yu's eyes. He suddenly lowered his head and rammed his head into Zhou Hao's head. Bang! Another loud sound rang out. Zhou Hao had completely lost his breath. His head had completely turned blood red. Without his arms, he fell to the ground, and no signs of life could be seen. Su Yu's face was covered in blood. He panted heavily as he looked at Lu Hong. Lu Hong looked at Su Yu in a daze. F***ck. Dead? F***CKU, this kid, deliberately burned me. He sensed again and let out a sigh of relief. Fortunately, he wasn't dead. He was still alive. Fortunately. Otherwise, when he was hosting the group arena and his students were killed, he wouldn't be able to escape. As for Zhou Hao's injuries, whether or not he could be healed, it was none of his business. He was not dead. His last breath was his business. He looked at Suyu once again. This kid was truly vicious. At that moment, Suyu's left arm was broken, and his right arm was broken on the ground. Suyu forcefully released his Yuan Qi. His left arm barely exerted force as he picked up his right arm from the ground and stuck it to the broken arm. Yuan Qi burst out and began to connect the meridians one after another. Intense pain came in waves. Suyu did not make a sound. It was also extremely quiet in the arena. Xia Yuan glanced at Suyu and then looked at Lu Hong. Finally, with a wave of his hand, Zhou Hao, who was no longer human, was summoned into his hands. He took away Zhou Hao's arms and turned around to leave. Teacher Xia, don't forget to pay 10 merit points. Those are my spoils of war. Suyu said calmly, also, student Zhou doesn't cultivate willpower. Not good. Teacher Xia, you should be a good teacher and do your duty. Xia Yuan didn't say anything and continued to walk. Behind him, Suyu laughed lightly and suddenly shouted, again. In the Divine Literature department alone, you're ranked first. Continue. The audience instantly roared. Everyone was shocked. This fellow must be crazy. He still wants to continue. In front, Xia Yuan's footsteps slowed down slightly. He did not stay any longer and quickly left. Today, when he returned, he did not manage to establish his might. Instead, he lost all his face. Zhou Hao, lost. Not only did he almost die, but Suyu actually continued to challenge him even after fighting him once. Suyu. As Xia Yuan walked, he muttered to himself. His expression gradually became grave. He was not the second Bai Feng, but a genius who was stronger and more ruthless than Bai Feng. At this moment, Zhao Ming, who had just stepped down from the stage, appeared in front of him. He smiled and said, TSK, your injuries are too serious. Let me give you emergency assistance. I can barely hold my breath. 500 merit points. Xia Yuan looked at him coldly. Zhao Ming smiled and said in a low voice, 1,000 merit points. Hurry up. Xia Yuan, if you really die, I'll sue you for murdering a student. Xia Yuan ignored him. He took a step forward and left. Zhao Ming's eyes flickered, he suddenly roared, Xia Yuan, are you crazy? If you don't save him, he will die. At this time, you still don't want to give up your merit points. Are you deliberately trying to kill your student and frame Suyu, saying that Suyu killed your student? How ruthless, using your student's life to exchange for Suyu's expulsion. Everyone, come and take a look. Xia Yuan wants to kill his own student. His student isn't dead yet, but he can still be saved. I can save him. Is 1,000 merit points too much? Does Xia Yuan lack money? He wants to kill his own student on purpose. How can such a person be qualified to be a researcher or a teacher? He's a hypocrite, a complete hypocrite. He's the only one who wants to fight for the position of manor head. F***CK, if he becomes the manor head, I guarantee that the great Xia manor will be destroyed. F***CK, this is too dark. The surroundings trembled. Shut up. A furious roar sounded out. In the next moment, a powerful willpower surged out from the void and instantly fused into Zhou Hao's body. Zhou Hao's life force slowly recovered. Xia Yuan looked coldly at Zhao Ming, who was still smiling. He said in a clear voice, shut up for what? Vice Principal Xia, you want to play favorites and cheat. What, did I say something wrong? What, the academy doesn't allow people to speak. Didn't Xia Yuan want to murder his student? I also saved him. Give me 1,000 merit points. As he finished speaking, a white light landed on Zhou Hao's body. Zhao Ming had a smile on his face as he looked at Xia Yuan, completely ignoring the powerful willpower in the air. He bared his teeth and said in a low voice, "Return the position of referee to me obediently. Xia Yuan, fight with me. If you don't return it, we'll just wait and see." Xia Yuan looked at him coldly. Zhao Ming's smile was still the same. He said playfully, "You don't believe me? Then let's play around. I entered the academy 10 years earlier than you, so how can I not win against you? Tomorrow, I'll go to the Department of Strengthening Education to sue you. The day after tomorrow, I'll go to the City Lord's Manor to sue you. The day after tomorrow, I'll go to the army to sue you. If you can't do it, I'll go to seek help to sue you. You won't forget what I do, right?" Xia Yuan looked at him. After a long while, she carried Zhou Hao and took a detour to leave. She didn't say anything. Zhao Ming. Zhao Ming sneered. He looked at Su Yu on the stage and then looked at Lu Hong. He waved his hand and said, "Work for me for 1 day. The salary is still mine. Little Lu, don't be corrupt. Otherwise, you're finished." After saying that, Zhao Ming ran away happily. As he ran, he shouted, "There's no place to talk about the law. I don't believe it. You saved someone, but you ran away without paying." Heart Cultivation Pavilion. Xia Chongqing frowned slightly. He looked at the person beside him and sighed, "Go, transfer 1,000 merit points to him. Let Yuan resume his position as a referee." Zhao Ming doesn't usually get involved in these things. Why did he provoke Zhao Ming for no reason? The old servant beside him sighed, "Young Master Yuan is a little arrogant and doesn't know Zhao Ming well. He's just a piece of psoriasis. If he gets infected, he won't be able to get rid of it." Xia Chongqing nodded slightly and said softly, "Placate Zhao Ming and stop making trouble. The Secret Realm Department is a neutral faction of the Academy. There's no need to get involved in this." The old servant nodded. The Secret Realm Department wasn't a department. It was the one that guarded the Secret Realm, presided over the top 100 buildings, and maintained the order of the guards. That was the true neutral faction. They only cared about cultivation and the rules of the Academy. They didn't care about anything else. Zhao Ming was one of them. For some reason, he seemed to be biased toward Su Yu today. Of course, everything was still within the rules. At the same time, in the arena, Su Yu laughed softly and said in a loud voice, "Is there no one left in the single divine script department? Isn't Zhai Feng still waiting for me? Come up on the stage." He looked like he was on the verge of collapse. His entire body was covered in blood. His right arm was broken, and his left arm was broken. Many people were shocked. "Do you really want to continue fighting?" As for the Divine Literature Department, many people also looked at each other. "Should we go? Even if we win, this. If we win against Su Yu, will we really be able to save face? If we don't go, we'll be even more humiliated." You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories. Chapter 683. Chapter 683, Chapter 177, Su Yu, Can Afford to Lose, 1. Shall we go? This doubt was currently reverberating in the minds of some of the Shan Shenwen students. Hesitation. Above Su Yu, who was the student from the Shan Shenwen department who was ranked 92nd. At this moment, many people suddenly looked at one person with a strange expression. Xia Chan. Ranked 90th. These days, there were some changes in the rankings. Wan Mingze fought to 86th place, Hu Qiusheng 88th place, and Jing Yunhui did not move because of the changes in the rankings. Instead, he dropped one place, 89th place. After that was Xia Chan. Zhang Hao, who had been on the rankings the last time, was now ranked 96th. As for Lin Qing, 99th place, he could neither go up nor down. He was stuck here. Xia Chan was a student that Zhou Mingren had just accepted this year. She could be considered a closed-door disciple. As for why Xia Chan wanted to acknowledge Zhou Mingren as her master, no one knew. No one knew what Lord Xiaohe was thinking. While Lord Xiaohe was opposing Zhou Mingren, he had arranged for his granddaughter to be under Zhou Mingren's name. Zhou Mingren had also accepted Xia Chan. Outsiders did not know what kind of deal was involved. On the stage, Su Yu was already on the verge of collapse. His broken arm was only barely reattached. If he wanted to recover, it would not be a matter of time. At this moment, Su Yu's physical strength had dropped to the lowest. Xia Chan, was there any hope of winning? In the crowd, Xia Chan looked at Su Yu. She was not angry, only a little disappointed. The gap between her and Su Yu did not close with the passage of time. Instead, it was getting bigger and bigger. It was not easy for her to reach the 90th place, but at this moment, she felt that it was even more difficult to catch up with Su Yu. I surrender. Xia Chan's tone was calm as she said slowly. Some people were relieved, while others were unwilling. However, no one dared to say anything. Xia Chan was obviously not Su Yu's match. She admitted defeat, and the crowd did not know whether they should say that she was afraid of fighting. Go up to the next place. Su Yu did not show the slightest fluctuation. You can continue to admit defeat until you reach Zhaifeng. No one answered. At this moment, some people were so aggrieved that they wanted to die. Surrender. Fight. Single God text. If a line really let Su Yu kill all the way through the top 100 list, directly killed to Zhaifeng there, that really too faceless. Top 100. Top of the list. One of the most proud of the Department of God, is that they are a lot of people. Top 100, a total of 15 people are their department. How many factions are there in the university? How many academies? In their department, there were 15 people on the list. This was even under the situation where Huang Qifeng was crippled. The others, such as Yang Sha, Chen Qi, many students were lingering behind the top 100 and could be on the list at any time. This included the few people who were crippled by Su Yu's kick previously. Are you not going to accept the challenge, or are you admitting defeat? Su Yu calmly said, if you are not going to accept the challenge, then make it clear. Also, my senior sister wants to be on the top 100 list. You can challenge her. If you challenge her once, I will fall off the list once, and then kill again. Even though he said it calmly, he sounded extremely domineering. My senior sister has a spot in the top 100. Whoever kills her and fails to enter the top 100, he will fail to enter the top 100 himself and start all over again. If he didn't suppress Su Yu, it would be useless against Wuxia. How do we resolve this? This matter isn't easy for us to handle. Is the principal still around? No, he's gone out. Then. What about the other elders? They're all gone. Find Zhou Pingsheng and let him make the decision. Someone quickly went to inform Zhou Pingsheng. Zhou Pingsheng had been competing with his blood essence for the past few days and had been in closed-door cultivation for quite some time. At this moment, he could only look for Zhou Pingsheng. Zhou Mingren had gone out. Among the 4 disciples, Hu Wensheng was in closed-door cultivation, Zheng Yiming was crippled, and Xia Chan was only a direct descendant in name. The only one who could make the decision was Zhou Pingsheng. Su Yu was not in a hurry. He waited slowly. At this moment, he was standing alone in the arena, but the entire single divine literature department students could not breathe. 7 to 8 minutes later, Zhou Pingsheng rushed over. He had heard everything on the way. At this moment, when he arrived, he looked at Su Yu on the stage with a cold look in his eyes. This bastard, was the information he gave him real or fake? Zhai Feng. Master. Zhai Feng rushed over quickly. He was Zhou Pingsheng's direct disciple, and the other person was Qiu Yun, who was ranked 24th. Qiu Yun. Master. The two of them rushed over and looked at Zhou Pingsheng. Where's Guo Xinquan? Zhou Pingsheng looked around but did not see this person. This was Hu Wensheng's eldest disciple, Chen Qi's senior brother. He was also one of the top students in the single divine language department. He was currently ranked 35th on the top 100 list. Zhai Feng said in a low voice, Junior brother Guo did not come. He is now focused on cultivation. He is either in a mystic realm or in seclusion all day long. Sometimes, he would go out for a walk. It has been a while since I last saw him. Humph. Zhou Pingsheng was a little dissatisfied. Guo Xinquan dared not to come to such a big event. Some people said that he had joined the so-called third party. Perhaps it was true. Looking at his two disciples, Zhou Pingsheng looked at Su Yu on the stage. He transmitted his voice, we can't not fight. Not only do we have to fight, we have to win. Cripple Su Yu. Qiu Yun, you go first. Su Yu didn't use much of his willpower. You have to exhaust his willpower. Don't think about winning. Focus on exhausting him and then admit defeat. Zhai Feng, your goal is to cripple him. Even if you don't kill him, you have to make him like your junior brother Huang. He won't be able to cultivate for 3 to 5 months. Qiu Yun looked troubled. She was a little worried. She was worried that she would follow in the footsteps of others. That Zhou Hao was very, very strong. Qiu Yun felt that she might not be able to win if she met Zhou Hao. Moreover, she might lose. Zhou Hao was only at the critical juncture. However, he who had opened 144 acupoints might not be inferior to those who were at the 5th or 6th level of the 10,000 stone realm. The key was that Zhou Hao's killing intent was too strong and his battle was too crazy. Even if such a person was weaker than others, those who were stronger than him might not dare to claim victory. You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories. Chapter 684. Chapter 684, Chapter 177, Su Yu, can afford to lose. Xiao subscribe, 2-inch. In the end, Zhou Hao was almost beaten to death by Su Yu. Seeing his disciples worry, Zhou Pingsheng was a little angry. He thought about it and did not blame him. He quickly said, Son, Li, and you have disciples on the ranking. Those below the top 50 will all admit defeat. Those above the top 50 will go on stage with one goal, to waste time. Even if it's embarrassing, as long as Su Yu is crippled, everything will not be a problem. At this moment, Zhou Pingsheng had already made a judgment. Even if it was embarrassing now, even if the victory was not too glorious, he could not let Su Yu go down the stage just like that. Today, Su Yu went down the stage just like that. The people of the Divine Literature Department were truly disunited. Even a student could not solve it. Then who else could he fight with? Who else could he fight with? Those ranked below the top 50 would be useless even if they went up on stage. They could only serve food to Su Yu, but those ranked in the top 50, even if they were no match for Su Yu, would be able to delay him, not allow him to recover, not allow him to heal. It would exhaust his willpower. On the stage, Su Yu saw Zhou Pingsheng and also saw him whispering everywhere. He kept silent and continued to wait. Since he had stepped on them today, he would step on them to the end. Soon, a student from the single divine language department said, I admit defeat. The student ranked 84th. I admit defeat. The student ranked 73rd. I admit defeat. A series of admitting defeat was heard. Students from all directions swarmed over to watch this shocking scene. A student had forced a student from a department to admit defeat. And they were all students from the top 100. Long live! It wasn't that Suyu was truly invincible, but that the other students ranked at the top had all fought their way up step by step. Unlike him, who had previously defeated a student ranked 38th, at this moment, the students ranked in the bottom 50 couldn't do anything to him. Moreover, the students from the other departments didn't need to force the students from the other departments like this. Other than the intense internal strife within the Divine Literature department, the other departments were still relatively peaceful. Until Suyu entered the 61st place, no one went up to fight. But at this moment, there was a stalemate. In the Divine Literature faculty alone, there were no students in the 50th to 60th place. In this way, there was no way to carry out the strategy of wasting Suyu. The challenge ended here. Suyu obviously did not have the intention to challenge the others. At this moment, he just waited silently and watched. Below the stage, Zhou Pingsheng's expression changed. Looking at Suyu on the stage, he shouted, "Suyu, didn't you want to challenge Shaifeng? Why don't you continue?" Suyu said calmly, "I'm waiting." "Waiting for what?" Zhou Pingsheng frowned. Suyu said calmly, "I'm waiting for Xia Yuan to send me 10 merit points. I don't have the money to pay the challenge fee. Your people can challenge him even if they don't pay. As for the other seniors, I have to pay first." "You!" Zhou Pingsheng was furious. Suyu said calmly, "Hurry up and urge Teacher Xia to pay quickly. Otherwise, the challenge today will end here. We will continue tomorrow." "Tomorrow?" Zhou Pingsheng was furious. Suyu did it on purpose. The students could see that Suyu was deliberately making people feel disgusted. He was making Xia Yuan feel disgusted, and he was making people feel disgusted with the single god language. Suyu said calmly, "Teacher Xia keeps repeating the rules, and the military laws. Don't you know that if you lose, you have to admit your debt? If you lose and don't pay, how can such a person be qualified to be a teacher? How can such a person say that I don't respect my teachers? His students just entered the school, so I feel that they shouldn't have any money. Shouldn't he be paying as a teacher? We have to talk about the rules. Otherwise, how can he have the right to punish me for my meritorious deeds and punish my teacher for his meritorious deeds? Just because. This is the Great Xia residence." Suyu's voice suddenly became louder. "The Great Xia Manor can have no rules. The Great Xia Manor, the Xia family can be unbridled. The Great Xia King and the Xia Manor head have to follow the rules. Lord Xia has to pay taxes when doing business. Can he, Xia Yuan, be so tyrannical?" For the sake of 10 merits, Suyu almost said that Xia Yuan was not even fit to be a human. Zhou Pingsheng was furious and shouted, "I'll pay you. You. Director Zhou, are you Xia Yuan's father? Or his son? Bastard!" Zhou Pingsheng was furious. Suyu said indifferently, "So that's the teacher-student relationship? Otherwise, what right do you have to pay for him? If you pay, then treat it as a gift from you to me. If Director Zhou is willing to give it to me, then I'm willing to accept it." Anger. Anger. This fellow Suyu was tough with his hands, but he was not bad with his words either. Did he really have to force Xia Yuan to personally give him merit points before he gave up? And at that moment, a jade box shot over. With a bang, it was embedded into the arena. "Here you go." Xia Yuan's voice was calm as it came from afar. 10 drops of yuan qi liquid, is that enough? The jade box was embedded into the ground. Suyu's pupils constricted. In this arena, he and Zhou Hao had fought to such an extent that only a few marks were left behind. Xia Yuan threw a jade box across the air and it actually pierced through the ground. It was very strong. At the next moment, Suyu said with a smile, "That's enough." However, according to the Academy's rules, those who do not challenge the students and maliciously destroy the arena shall be punished. 100 merit points, that seems to be the case. Teacher Xia, please do it again. He looked at Lu Hong and said with a smile, Teacher Lu, as a referee, don't you understand the rules at all? Can you be a referee just like that? The academy's rules are broken by people who do not follow the rules and do not understand the rules. Lu Hong burst into laughter and said slowly, I'm sorry. This is my first time being a referee, so I don't really understand it. Brother Xia, then pay another 100 merit points. Don't break the rules, it's hard for me to explain. You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories. Chapter 685. Chapter 685, Chapter 177, Su Yu, Can Afford to Lose, 3. Both on and off the stage, there was a little bit of awkwardness. Xia Yuan shot the jade box and directly embedded it into the ground. It was obvious that she was trying to humiliate and intimidate Su Yu, but in the end, it was awkward. Destroying the arena floor, a fine of 100 merit points. Not only did the students destroy the arena, it was also extremely difficult to do so. This rule had not been used by anyone for many years. Did that bastard Su Yu not cultivate? Was he studying the academy's rules every day? In the distance, Xia Yuan did not make a sound. It was unknown whether he was angry or did not know what to say. A moment later, another jade box shot over. There was no sound. Xia Yuan did not make a sound this time. Lu Hong chuckled as he grabbed the jade box and said with a smile, this matter ends here. Su Yu, are you still going to challenge me? Su Yu smiled and bent down to smash the jade box, revealing the 10 drops of yuan qi liquid inside. After casually swallowing a drop, Su Yu chuckled and said, of course. As he said that, he glanced at the top 100 crystal monument. Then he looked down, he said softly, the seniors ranked before me, I wonder which senior can give me some face. Today, Su Yu does not wish to fight with non-single divine literature department students again. I hope that senior can be magnanimous and let me have the opportunity to experience the strength of those single divine literature department powerhouses. At this moment, below the stage, a young man smiled and said, me. I'm ranked 60, so I'm one rank higher than you. I just happen to have a chance to challenge the top 50 students. I'm not junior brother Su's match. If it were on a normal day, I would like to experience it. But today, I'll let it go. I'll admit defeat. Thank you for showing me mercy, senior brother Jiang. Su Yu was very polite and slightly bowed, he smiled and said, after I crippled a few senior students of the Divine Literature Department, senior brother will be able to advance a few more places. Senior brother won't be implicated in dropping in rank. At least one of them will be crippled. Senior brother, don't worry. Below the stage, student Jiang didn't know whether to laugh or cry. He couldn't accept these words. If he accepted, the Divine Literature Department would probably hate him to death. It would be fine if he admitted defeat. After all, he was giving Su Yu a chance to challenge him. If he continued, it would be hard to say. Next. Su Yu didn't say anything more and continued to call out names. In the crowd, a long-haired youth took a deep breath and jumped onto the stage with a solemn expression. Su Yu, I. There's no need for introductions. If you don't want to know, referee, you can begin. You. The long-haired young man flew into a rage. Lu Hong coughed lightly and said, then, let's continue. You can admit defeat in time. Begin. As soon as he finished speaking, the long-haired young man swiftly crushed a jade talisman. Whing. A protective barrier rose up. His willpower was slightly depleted, but this person did not get close to Su Yu. Instead, he retreated one after another. Su Yu just looked at him silently and did not make a move. For a moment, the entire place fell silent. Su Yu did not move. The other party crushed the protective jade talisman and did not move at all. However, the protective jade talisman had a time limit. This was awkward. He wanted to control the literary soldiers to attack Su Yu, but the moment the literary soldiers appeared, they might be corroded and burned by Su Yu's soul-devouring art. However, if the literary soldiers did not appear, then he could only get close to them with his physical body. He gritted his teeth. He couldn't wait for the protective amulet to lose its effect. Otherwise, it would be a waste. Moreover, there were still so many people watching below. This person swiftly charged towards Su Yu, preparing to engage in close combat. As for the Wenbing and willpower, he didn't dare to use them at this moment. He was afraid that they would be corroded by the soul-devouring art. Su Yu still didn't move. He had been silently looking at him the entire time, causing that person to feel a chill in his heart. But at this moment, the arrow was on the bowstring, and he had no choice but to shoot. Gritting his teeth, he charged forward swiftly. His physical combat strength was at the 4th level of the Myriad Stone realm. He wasn't considered weak. This person charged forward swiftly, but Su Yu still did not move. He did not care anymore. With a ruthless heart, he threw a punch at Su Yu's right arm. He had seen that Su Yu's right arm had been broken, and this was Su Yu's weakness. When this punch was thrown out, he was suddenly alarmed. A regretful sigh sounded beside his ear. Stupid. Boom. With an explosion, his acupoints exploded. Behind him, Su Yu's Heaven Splitter's 3rd form, Yuan Shattering, directly shattered one of his acupoints. His acupoints exploded and Yuan Qi spread out. With a poochie sound, the long-haired young man spat out blood. Heavily injured, he fell to the ground. Su Yu shook his head and said indifferently, "A civilized master can't even break my illusion without willpower. Which idiot gave you this idea? Too stupid. Amulet? Without willpower? And then, wait to be bewitched by my illusion. I don't understand this person's logic." Su Yu said it indifferently, and many people's faces turned slightly red. I forgot. F***ck. Su Yu's physical combat strength was too strong, and many people forgot that he was a civilized master who had grasped a Tier 2 divine text. And there was a Tier 2 illusion. The long-haired youth also forgot. He was worried that Su Yu's soul-devouring art didn't use willpower to fight, but used his physical body to approach. In the end, it was an illusion. Even if he had used his will, it would have been difficult for him to break through the illusion. Yet, he hadn't even used it. It could be imagined that he was destined to end up in a miserable state. One of his apertures had been shattered by Su Yu, and while he could still recover from it, it was even more difficult than opening an aperture. He wouldn't be able to recover for another month or 2. After shattering the other party's apertures, Su Yu kicked out forcefully. Without waiting for the other party to speak, he sent a kick down. With a loud boom, he crashed into the ground below the stage. Is this the brain of the top 50 students in the Divine Inscriptions department alone? Su Yu frowned, seemingly perplexed. He shook his head slightly. A look of pity appeared on his face. He looked at Zhou Pingsheng as if to say, this brain, can he really become a civilized master? Damn it! Zhou Pingsheng and the others frowned. This is troublesome. If he used his willpower, then he had to be careful of being corroded and burned by Su Yu. You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories. Chapter 686. Chapter 686, Chapter 177, Su Yu, can afford to lose. Shio subscribe, 4-inch. If you don't use this, once his illusion appears, unless you are like Zhou Hao, with Yuan Qi so strong that you can directly break through the illusion, that kind of Yuan Qi would not be able to burst out even if you were at the 4th or 5th layer of the 10,000 stone realm. That was a top heaven rank cultivation technique at the Qianjun 9th layer. It was not trash. Next. Suyu sighed, can you give me a surprise? Below the stage, a girl frowned and looked at Zhou Pingsheng. Zhou Pingsheng said telepathically, consume him. No matter how strong the soul-devouring art is, it's only a cultivation technique with 36 apertures opened. In reality, its lethality is only equivalent to Qianjun. The girl was speechless. Nonsense, I know it too. The key point was that it must be very painful. She didn't see Zhu Hong and the others rolling on the ground in pain with just one strike. This thing was not easy to deal with. Even though she was unwilling, she had no choice but to go on stage. She was not from Zhou Mingren's faction, but from Yu Hong's faction. However, at this moment, the pavilion elder was not around, and Zhou Pingsheng was in charge. What could she do? The girl jumped onto the stage. Suyu saw that it was a girl and smiled. I don't like to bully girls. Although I am an enemy, I still have some persistence. Senior sister, admit defeat and step down. Otherwise, you are an enemy. An enemy, regardless of gender. The woman frowned and said indifferently, is junior brother Su discriminating against women? That's not true. Suyu said indifferently, this senior sister doesn't need to set a trap for me. I, Suyu, admire quite a few female experts. For example, teacher Wuxia, who killed a demon expert. I've always felt that such a cultivator is a true cultivator. I even said this in front of my teacher. Because such experts who dare to charge into the heavenly battlefield alone and kill their enemies are the people I admire, regardless of gender. As for senior sister. If you really refuse to admit defeat, then let's begin. Suyu spoke courteously. The moment Lu Hong announced the start, this time, Suyu did not wait any longer. Without saying a word, a long saber silently hacked down. Saber chi swept across, killing intent was brazen, lightning flashed, illusions erupted, and black flames burned. This female student cursed in her heart. What happened to not attacking the female student? Her attacks were even more ruthless than before. Willpower exploded, and divine runes exploded. A wave of freezing power covered the entire arena. The temperature of the arena instantly dropped, and the long saber of the civil soldiers was frozen to the point that it slowed down. However, once willpower erupted, that burning power was tainted with willpower. The face of the girl changed drastically, and her face turned deathly pale. It was too painful. It was so painful that she wanted to jump off the stage immediately. Damn it! This force, unless one was in the air, it would be difficult for one to withstand this kind of pain. On the side, Lu Hong also curled his lips. This thing was really painful when it burned people. It was over. If this cultivation technique were to be spread out, civilized masters, it would still be fine. After all, they had only opened 36 apertures. At the soaring stage, the burning force wouldn't pose much of a threat to them. However, if the other party was also in the air, that would still cause some impact. At the very least, it would allow the fighter to face a civilized master one more time. Just as he was thinking this, a small hammer silently flew out once more. Shadow divine runes covered the area. The female student was still unleashing her willpower to freeze Wen Bing's long saber to deal with the black flames. In the next moment, her willpower jolted. Boom! An earth-shattering roar sounded in her mind. Her vision blurred, and in the next moment, Wen Bing's long saber thawed and shot out. With a poochie sound, it pierced through her chest and nailed the girl below the stage. Lu Hong looked at Suyu with a strange expression. You said that you wouldn't hit the girl. Don't you know that this is even scarier than crippling her? Below the stage, countless people looked at Su Yu. Su Yu was a little strange and said softly, "I've already held back. Although she's my opponent, she's still a girl after all. I didn't seriously injure her willpower." He was puzzled. "Why are you looking at me like that?" "I really held back. When boys fought with girls, they were more or less apprehensive. The main reason was that he had just made his senior sister suffer. He was worried that the Divine Literature department would also ruin his image. In the end, why are they all looking at me like that?" And at this moment, the next person was Chiu Yun. At this moment, Chiu Yun's expression changed. She looked at her teacher, her eyes filled with rejection. "I don't want to. I don't want to go on stage. Su Yu is a pervert." His blade pierced through his chest. It wasn't a direct hit, it was a little off. Then. She didn't want it. The girl who was nailed to the bottom of the stage was also filled with despair. She looked at Su Yu, who had already withdrawn his literary weapon. The girl's face was pale as she looked at her reddened chest. She suddenly roared angrily, "Su Yu, from today onwards, we will fight to the death." Su Yu frowned and said softly, "If senior sister insists on fighting to the death, I don't mind it. I have already held back. Senior sister, don't make a mistake. You deserve to die." This girl staggered to her feet with a face full of grief and indignation. She swayed as she ran out of the crowd and quickly disappeared on the spot. Below the stage, Xia Chan and the other girls were a little strange. They glanced at Su Yu and very quickly, someone whispered, "Su Yu doesn't know anything. Has he never come into contact with girls before?" As they chatted, very soon, someone found out that Lu Yu was a classmate of his from a secondary school and started asking questions. Lu Yu was also a little absent-minded and waited for someone to ask. She said uncertainly, "He's in the middle school and doesn't seem to have much contact with girls. His best friend is a boy, and he usually only comes into contact with that boy. After school, he would sometimes go to the library and read books for a whole day. Even if he met him in the library, he would only nod at him." You're tuning into the Han Lee's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories. Chapter 687. Chapter 687, Chapter 177, Su Yu can afford to lose. Show subscribe, 5-inch. When these words were said, someone was in a trance. Suddenly, Lu Yu thought of something and said softly, his mother passed away when he was young. When these words were said, the girls below the stage instantly felt a surge of motherly love. "I see. He's really a pure little brother. He hasn't had any contact with girls. How pitiful. He lost his mother when he was young. No wonder he doesn't understand. Piercing his chest is worse than cutting off his hand." Below the stage, one by one, the girls were filled with sympathy. Previously, they thought that Su Yu was too much. Now that they thought about it, he had never spoken to any girls since he was young. There weren't many innocent little boys like him. It was too rare. Su Yu frowned. He was too lazy to think about it. He had really held back. He was different from Chen Hao. He knew that people's words were terrible. It was not good for him to harm the girls. Even Chiu Yun was not his main target. His main target was Zhai Feng. Men would not sympathize with men even if they were beaten to death. It was not good for a man to beat a woman until she was crippled. He did not know what these people were talking about. That gaze was a little awkward. "Next!" Su Yu shouted. Below the stage, Chiu Yun's face was full of rejection. The next person was originally Chen Qi's senior brother. The girl from before was ranked 40th, but Guo Xinquan was not around, so she was next. She did not really want to go on stage. Zhou Pingxing's face was also filled with anger. His goal of wasting Su Yu's time hadn't been achieved, even though Su Yu's willpower had exploded quite a bit earlier. Xiao Yun was ranked 24th, so she was still very strong. Xiao Yun, go up. Zhou Pingxing transmitted his voice and shouted in a low voice. Where did all these misgivings come from? Xiao Yun struggled for a moment, gritted her teeth, and jumped onto the stage. Su Yu let out a breath and looked at Xiao Yun. This was his original goal today, but in the end, Zhou Hao went on stage and heavily injured his physical body. Now, it seemed that he had to put in some hard work to deal with Xiao Yun. Xiao Yun was very strong. With a physical body at the 5th level of the 10,000 Stones realm and a willpower at the peak of the Recuperation realm, her overall combat strength was no less than that of the 7th level of the 10,000 Stones realm. If she went all out, Su Yu might not be able to win against her in his current state. However, from the start of the match, Xiao Yun was already a little timid. She even had a somewhat negative attitude. As Su Yu fought, he also noticed this abnormality. He even had a vague thought, was this a spy? A passive battle. In less than 3 minutes, Su Yu's soul-devouring art had just burned the opponent for the second time when Xiao Yun suddenly let out a blood-curdling scream and directly fell off the stage. A fake match. Su Yu instantly had such a thought. Why? Was she really a spy? Xiao Yun definitely did not display her true strength. Su Yu was not the only one. Many people had strange looks in their eyes. Xiao Yun indeed did not display her true strength. She seemed to be in a passive battle. Zhou Pingxing could see it. He looked at her angrily. Xiao Yun lowered her head and did not say anything. She was not really afraid of what Su Yu would do to her, but there was no need. There was still a senior brother above her. Her main goal was to exhaust him. She had already exhausted a lot of Su Yu's willpower. Was she really going to fight to the death with Su Yu like that senior sister just now, or even become like Zhou Hao? Zhou Pingxing was too lazy to say anything else. He looked at Zhai Feng. At this moment, Zhai Feng finally heaved a sigh of relief. Su Yu was ranked 24th on the top 100 list. He was previously ranked 9th. But now, he was not. Previously, in order to deal with Su Yu, he had lost quite a number of rankings. These few days, he had just killed his way to the 12th place. He had yet to enter the top 10. Without needing Su Yu to say anything, Zhai Feng jumped onto the stage directly. His eyes were cold and stern. He laughed softly and said, "Su Yu, I hope you can still stand up today." From all directions, the students were very nervous. At this moment, all of them were staring at them with unblinking eyes. It was Zhai Feng's turn. After breaking through Zhai Feng, Su Yu had really broken through the single divine text series. However, in Su Yu's current condition, was he a match for Zhai Feng? Zhai Feng's physical body was at the 7th level of the 10,000 Stone realm, and he was at the peak of recuperation. He seemed to have a level 2 divine text as well. As for whether he had won or not, it was still uncertain at the moment. His overall combat strength was close to the peak of the 10,000 Stone realm. He had once fought with Ting Kong and lost, however, he had indeed fought with Ting Kong. With Su Yu's current strength, even with the soul-devouring art, he was probably at the 7th level of the 10,000 Stone realm. He was definitely not at the 9th level. Coupled with his body being seriously injured, was he a match for Zhai Feng? Just as Zhai Feng was eager to give it a try, Su Yu suddenly jumped off the stage. Everyone was stunned for a moment. Zhai Feng roared, "Su Yu, what do you mean? I'm not fighting anymore. Let's call it a day." Su Yu said as he walked, "We're almost done fighting. Let's continue in 2 days. I'm going back to heal my injuries today." B*****, D***MN, B*****. Zhai Feng roared angrily. F***CK. They had fought until now. In order to get him onto the stage, his students had either admitted defeat or fought passively. Were you not going to fight anymore? He was actually not going to fight anymore. Bastard, you promised to challenge me. Bastard. Zhai Feng roared furiously. His yuan qi burst out, and his blood essence soared to the sky. His anger was boiling. Su Yu was not going to fight anymore. When he said this, he felt worse than if he had lost. He was not going to fight anymore. Su Yu, you piece of trash. Didn't you say that you wanted to break through the single divine script department? Zhai Feng roared crazily. Below, Zhou Pingsheng was also flustered and exasperated. He shouted, Su Yu, you admit defeat? Su Yu said in surprise, I'm ranked 24th. What do you mean you admit defeat? Doesn't Director Zhou know how to count? I'm not going to fight any higher. Is this called admitting defeat? It's not like there are people challenging me from behind. That's strange. Is this called admitting defeat? I entered the 24th place with a complete victory record. Why does this mean I admit defeat? You. Zhou Pingsheng was furious. Damn it. He tricked us. He did not intend to challenge Zhai Feng from the start. Director Zhou, it's illegal to interfere with student sparring. Director Zhou is knowledgeable. Don't know the law and break the law. Su Yu looked calm. He was so angry that it was not worth his life. Nonsense, I'm not stupid. When I was at my peak, I might not even be a match for Zhai Feng. Let alone now, why do I have to fight to the end? If I was seriously injured, it would not be worth it to recuperate for a few months. Even if I beat Zhai Feng, it would not be worth it. Su Yu smiled and said, in the next 3 days, I will rest for 3 days. Whoever wants to challenge me, I will admit defeat. Once again, I will be ranked in the top 100. I will continue to fight from the beginning. I hope that the Divine Runes Department can help me keep my 24th place. If I can't keep it, I will continue to fall and continue to fight higher. Bastard. Zhou Pingsheng was so angry that his lungs were about to explode. This damn thing. He actually asked the single Divine One faction to help him keep his 24th place. He really deserved to die. Su Yu smiled and said, whoever challenges me, I hope that the single Divine One faction can beat them down in the ranking. Only those who are not qualified to challenge me can do so. Otherwise, I will admit defeat. I, who have lost more than 8,000 times, do not care about this. If I lose the rankings, unless Zhai Feng is the only one above me, I will come often. Silence. At this moment, even the surrounding students and researchers had an awkward and strange look on their faces. According to this saying, the single Divine One faction really had to help Su Yu keep his ranking. Otherwise, the single Divine One faction would not be able to stop. Su Yu would come to fight the leaderboard every now and then and watch their people fight. Unless he admitted defeat or avoided the fight, he would definitely be tortured miserably once he accepted the fight. On the stage, Zhai Feng was about to go crazy. His willpower fluctuated as he roared, Su Yu, you shameless villain, didn't you want to fight with me? Come up. He was really going crazy. Su Yu turned his head to look at him and said with a faint smile, come down and hit me. At this moment, Zhai Feng really wanted to go down and kill him. He even wanted to go down and kill this bastard at all costs. That smile was too dazzling. I was just teasing you guys. Fool. Idiot. That endless ridicule really made him jump off the stage in pain. At this moment, Zhou Pingsheng's expression changed drastically. He did not have time to think. He reached out and grabbed Zhai Feng. With a rumble, he threw Zhai Feng dozens of meters away. Zhai Feng fell to the ground. Then, he thought of something and woke up. He looked at Su Yu again. Su Yu's smile was still the same. He said plainly, those who attack students below the stage, the members of the myriad clans, should be killed. Uncle Master, don't be soft-hearted next time. This is the members of the myriad clans. On the other side, Chen Yong smiled, nodded, and said softly, be careful next time. Su Yu had a look of contempt. He glanced at Zhou Pingsheng, then looked at Lu Hong, smiled, and walked away. Zhai Feng, I'm improving very quickly. Wait for me to play with you next time. Su Yu smiled, helped Wuxia up, and walked away gracefully. Ah! Zhai Feng roared crazily, aggrieved, and roared. This was more painful than his failure. He was not reconciled. He was not reconciled. Su Yu, this bastard, this beast, has been playing them. A group of people have been played by Su Yu. You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories. Chapter 688. Chapter 688, Chapter 178, Human Body Acupuncture. Point 1. Su Yu just gave up like that. This decision was out of many people's expectations. Many people thought that he would fight to the end. But thinking about it, it didn't seem like it was the first time that Su Yu was a routine person. Last time, everyone also thought that Su Yu would fight to the end. In the end, he fought a few rounds and decided not to fight anymore. He admitted defeat and lost more than 8,000 times. It was the same this time. However, no one felt that there was anything wrong with him not fighting. It seemed that there should be nothing wrong with him. Su Yu, Wu Jia, and Chen Yong left. Behind them, Zhai Feng roared again. Su Yu, Wu Jia can forget about entering the top 100. You can admit defeat. Can Wu Jia do it? I will hold on to the last place in the top 100 until next year, so that Wu Jia can forget about entering the top 100. Su Yu could admit defeat, but he didn't care. Everyone could see his strength, and his talent was recognized by everyone. Actually, Wu Jia didn't care either, but Wu Jia needed a place in the top 100. Chen Yong needed it too. In the distance, Su Yu couldn't be bothered to care. Wu Jia, who was being supported, had an unsightly expression and was a little depressed. Junior brother. Su Yu chuckled and said, senior sister, ignore him. Let's play with him. It's still early anyway. What? Su Yu chuckled and said, senior sister, think about it. If he wants to stop you, doesn't he have to be in the 100th place? If you challenge someone else, for example, if you become 95th place and he challenges you, then you admit defeat. If the two of you swap rankings, then you'll be in the 100th place. I'll see if he can drop off the rankings and attack you again, or if they have a few more people dropping off the rankings to watch over you. Su Yu said with a bright smile, that's more interesting. Who can afford to waste time? Senior sister, since you have not recovered from your injuries, if you have nothing to do, you can go and fight more on the rankings. It will be fun to play with them like walking a dog every day. Admit defeat? Wu Jia said a little uncomfortably, junior brother, isn't it not good for us to admit defeat every day? On the side, Chen Yong reprimanded in a low voice, learn more from your junior brother. You are clearly not his opponent, yet you insist on holding on. Is there a point? Master, if you lose, you won't lose. Wu Jia said unhappily, it's fine if you lose to someone else, but if you lose to a bastard like Shan Shenwen, I won't be happy. Then you should recuperate well and get stronger as soon as possible. Chen Yong comforted him, then, with a slightly grave expression, he said, Su Yu, be careful recently. Xia Yuan has actually returned. You humiliated him previously, and he will not let it go. This person has some flaws in his personality. He is rather unique. To put it bluntly, he has some thoughts of being the sole ruler of the world. You humiliated him in public, and he will not let it go just like that. The sole ruler of the world? Su Yu said in surprise, Uncle Master, is he that arrogant? It's all right. Chen Yong did not have any prejudice, he explained, many geniuses have this kind of situation. Xia Yuan is arrogant, domineering, and arrogant. They are all based on the fact that he is invincible among those of the same level as him. All these years, he has never lost. I mean, those of the same level. Even my master was unable to defeat him. Your master was never at the same level as him. Chen Yong sighed and said, when your master was in the nurturing stage, he was close to soaring into the sky. Later on, when he soared into the sky, your master was a few months late. After that, he was never able to catch up to him. Now that he is already at the 3rd level of Lingyun, your master is still at the 8th level of soaring into the sky. The gap between them is huge. Then, if they're of the same level, is master his match? Chen Yong thought for a moment, he slowly said, it's hard to say. Xia Yuan doesn't cultivate the Aries art, but the heaven-cleaving knife. The heaven-cleaving knife isn't just a martial technique, it's also a cultivation technique, the heaven level. Moreover, there are many versions. Xia Yuan cultivates the high level of the heaven level, has many openings, and is strong. After saying that, he added, that is the physical combat strength. As for the path of a civilized master, Xia Yuan cultivates very powerful divine runes. If he is at the same level as your teacher, it is hard to say whether he will win or lose. Su Yu scratched his head and said, it can't be, my teacher has the dragon-slaying sword. I think it is still very powerful. Chen Yong laughed. It was hard to say, but it did not mean that he would lose. If they really fought, if they were at the same level, there was a high probability that Bai Feng would win. Of course, the two of them had never been of the same rank, so Chen Yong couldn't be bothered to give Bai Feng a gold medal. However, Su Yu was still a little puzzled. Uncle Master, isn't he an inspector of the inspector's office now? Why is he still fighting for the position of the deputy head of the library? Su Yu could be considered to understand the rules of the academy. The position of this inspector wasn't inferior to that of the deputy head of the library. It was even more noble. His authority was not small either. Then why did Xia Yuan have to go against the multi-god literature department? Chen Yong smiled and said, let's not talk about the position first. He wants to rope in the single-god literature department and even befriend the Zhou family. We have fewer people, so it's easier to bully us. If he doesn't bully us, who else can he bully? Of course, it's normal for him to want the position of deputy head of the academy. Chen Yong explained, the academy has a total of 42 cabinet elders. You know that. 36 of them are at the Shanhai realm, and 6 of them are at the 9th layer of Lingyun realm. You know that, right? Su Yu nodded. Chen Yong continued, of these 6 cabinet elders, 4 of them are in the secret realm. One of them is the dean of the inspector general's office, and the other is the head of the library. Chen Yong smiled, originally, the book collection pavilion was more important than the library, so I should have used the title of a cabinet elder. However, due to some disputes back then, and because I was young, I was eventually eliminated. Chen Yong sighed and said, of course, I was too lazy to fight for it myself, so I just left it vacant. They fought for the position of the head of the book collection pavilion. On one hand, they wanted to drive me away from taking charge of the book collection pavilion. On the other hand, they wanted the position of the pavilion elder. You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories. Chapter 689. Chapter 689, Chapter 178, Human Body Acupuncture. Point 2. Su Yu's expression was strange as he asked, Uncle Master, should have been the pavilion elder? Chen Yong smiled and nodded. Of course, it's the same. Uncle Master, I'm very curious. What kind of privilege does the pavilion elder have that even Xia Yuan is willing to stand on his side and fight for it? Pavilion elder. Chen Yong thought for a moment before saying, first, status. Second, right to speak. For example, only the pavilion master can participate in the heart cultivation pavilion meeting. Only the pavilion master can vote. Sometimes, the mansion master cannot make a decision on his own. The pavilion master has to vote on it. Third, some special resources can only be applied for by the pavilion master. Fourth, you can directly communicate with the seeker realm. Fifth, it sounds even more amazing. Su Yu almost bent his back when he heard fifth. That Xia Yuan wants to become a pavilion elder, but he's only at the third level of Lingyun. Chen Yong smiled and said, it won't take long for him to reach the 9th level. A genius like him will improve very quickly. Xia Yuan was exactly 30 years old this year. In 2 years' time, he would have another opportunity. If he could reach the 6th or 7th level of Lingyun in 2 years' time, he would be at the 9th level of Lingyun by the time he went in and came out. In just 2 years, he would have the confidence to enter the 9th level of Lingyun. However, entering the mountains and seas would take a long time. Chen Yong explained, the pavilion elders have the same rights as the mountains and seas. In all the major manors and colleges, the pavilion elders can treat the mountains and seas as if they were mountains and seas. With this name, it will be very helpful for him to compete for the position of mansion master because you can treat him as a mountain and sea realm. 2 years. Su Yu thought for a while and said, is it that Xingyu Manor? Yes. Uncle Master, is that place very magical? Sort of. Uncle Master has been there before. Chen Yong smiled and said, I've been there once. Counting it down. It's been 27 to 28 years. Su Yu nodded. He had heard of this before. He could only go there once every 10 years. 27 or 28 years. It was indeed the time when the first few times were opened. Uncle Master, what exactly is that place? You'll know when you go there in the future. There's no need to know now. Chen Yong shook his head and said, when you're going there one day, I'll tell you when you get this spot. Otherwise, you'll feel itchy if you only know the benefits and can't go. It seemed to make a lot of sense. At the side, Wuxia, who had been ignored by them, said with some hidden bitterness, you guys are always talking about this. You've forgotten about me. I'm injured. She felt a little wronged. The conversation was too high and mighty. She had a headache listening to it. What Starry Sky Mansion? Did this have anything to do with them? Chen Yong couldn't help but laugh. He quickly reprimanded, serves you right. I told you to go out and not stir up trouble. You insisted on fighting. If it weren't for your junior brother making a move, you would have been beaten to death in the arena sooner or later. Wu Jia didn't say anything. Master didn't know anything. It was clearly junior brother who told me to go. Su Yu secretly glanced at Chen Yong. He felt that his senior uncle probably knew that he had instigated her. After all, he had only gone there in the morning. Was he pointing at him? Su Yu was a little embarrassed. It was true. His senior sister's injuries hadn't recovered yet, and he had instigated her to go on the arena to spar. Now that her injuries were even more serious, it was indeed hard to say. His martial uncle did not say it directly, but it was also to save him some face. Wu Jia's injuries were even more serious. Chen Yong knew it, and so did Su Yu. Su Yu did not say another word. He stole a glance at Wu Jia. This senior sister of his, was also a little straightforward. He had asked you to go up on the stage and pretend to be injured, but in the end, your injuries were even more serious, causing Su Yu to feel a little embarrassed. The superficial injuries were still fine, but the injuries to his willpower seemed to have worsened as well. Thoughts flashed through his mind. Just as he was about to say something, Chen Yong said, later, I'll send you some healing pills. Treat your injuries well for the next few days, especially the broken arm. If you don't reattach it properly, it will have a huge impact on your physical body. Chen Yong said seriously, don't be so reckless next time. Even mountains and seas cannot be reborn from a drop of blood. Only the sun and moon have the hope to do so. Don't think that it's okay for a civilized master's body to be broken. It can be repaired if it's broken, but there are too many broken bodies. If you can't repair it properly, you won't be able to enter the sun, moon, and eternity. It will still have a huge impact. Got it. Su Yu hurriedly replied. Chen Yong escorted him back to the research center. After giving him a few words of advice, he did not stay long and left with Wuxia. Wuxia also had to go back to treat her injuries. As for Su Yu, he would send over some better medicinal pills later. There wasn't much of a problem. After all, there were medicinal pills that could treat physical injuries. It wasn't like willpower. Before it manifested, it would be very difficult to treat it. In the research center, Su Yu rested for a moment before going up to the second floor. He entered the filtering room and began to absorb blood essence and yuan qi to treat his injuries. He felt that he needed a healing divine text, or a healing type cultivation technique. The injuries on his body were still very serious. His left arm was broken, his right arm was broken, and the soles of his feet were also pierced. Zhou Hao. This fellow was really very strong. This was the first time Su Yu had encountered such a powerful thousand catacombs realm. A pure martial artist did not have willpower. A fighter. He did not know where Xia Yuan got it from. Su Yu's overall combat strength was even comparable to a 7th stage 10,000 stone realm. In the end, he was still beaten to such a state. Once Zhou Hao entered the 10,000 stone realm, Su Yu might not even be able to suppress him. Was there an expert like Zhou Hao in Zhangjin College? Previously, Su Yu felt that he was at the 9th layer of the 10,000 stone realm and had opened 180 apertures. Even if he had a physical body, he would still be invincible in Zhangjin College. But from the looks of it now, it might not be the case. Zhou Hao. If this guy is at the 10,000 stone realm and has opened 16 apertures to become 10,000 stones, that would be terrifying. Is there such a genius in Zhangjin College?